Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for January 18th, 2022. We appreciate you all being here today. If you would, we begin our meetings with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, and today we're going to have Commissioner Kennard lead us in both. So if you'd like to join us, please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer again this afternoon, so thankful for the many blessings in our lives. Lord, we thank you for just watching over us each and every day, guiding us in our thoughts and our words and our actions. Lord, we pray for the safety of our first responders here at home. We pray for the men and women in uniform all around the world. Lord, I pray that as we go about doing the county's business today, that you'd give us all open ears and minds and hearts, Lord, to listen and communicate with each other and bring forward some decisions, Lord, that we believe not only would serve our community best, but ultimately would serve you, Lord. And for that, we thank you so much. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Kennard.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Could we have a roll call, please?
This is a regular meeting of the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners. This 18th day of January, 2022. In attendance, Chairman Ron Kitchen, First Vice Chair Ruthie Schleba, Second Vice Chair Holly Davis, Commissioners Scott Carnahan and Jeff Kennard, County Administrator Randy Oliver, and County Attorney Denise Lynn.
Thank you very much. Under approval of the agenda, we are adding G2, which is dealing with HB 4999, and G3, which is dealing with HB 4987 and 4985. Is there anything else other than that, Mr. Oliver?
No, sir.
Okay. And when we get to bids, you have one that needs to be modified, is that right? So just we'll deal with that when we get to it. Okay, so with that said, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the agenda with the addition of G2 and 3.
Second.
Okay, so Commissioner Kennard makes the motion, a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. We have the consent agenda, which consists of items B1 through B11. What's the board's pleasure with the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
So we have Commissioner Kennard makes the motion, and Commissioner Carnahan seconds that. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Is there any further board discussion?
No, sir.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. That takes us to item C, which is proclamations. We have two, I see.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve items C1 and 2.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Kennard makes a motion to approve, and Commissioner Davis seconds that. Board, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. We got folks here for these?
Let me check first before you come down.
Okay.
Yeah, the gentleman's supposed to be from Withlacoochee.
Yeah, with the Coochie and certified registered nurse anesthesiologist are they here?
Is anyone representing those organizations here?
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
So I'll read the one in the record and the other one we just have to schedule at a later date
Okay.
because they were bringing us money.
They already gave us the money.
Oh,
This
okay.
is a ceremonial presentation.
Oh, okay, all right. The check's in the mail. Okay, here we go. The Board of County Commissioners, Citrus County, Florida, proclamation National Certified Registered Nurse Anesthesia CRNA Week. Whereas CRNAs have been providing anesthesia care to patients in the United States for more than 150 years, safely administering more than 50 million anesthetics to patients each year. And whereas CNAs practice in every setting in each anesthesia, it delivered traditionally hospital surgical suites and obstetrical delivery rooms, critical access hospital, ambulatory surgical centers, the offices of dentists, podiatrists, anesthesiologists, plastic surgeons, pain management specialists, U.S. military, public health services, Department of Veteran Affairs Healthcare Facility. Whereas National CRNA Week gives the healthcare community and greater public alike the opportunity to reflect on the heroic work and unique expertise of CRNAs while recognizing the power and resilience of our community. Now therefore, the Board of County Commissioners, Citrus County, Florida, does hereby designate the week of January 23rd through January 29, 2022 as National CNI Week in Citrus County, Florida, signed by all 5 county commissioners.
Thank you, Doug. And I guess we'll reschedule with the Gucci River Electric sometime in the future. Okay, that takes us to open to the public at this time. If you would like to speak or address the board, remind you of a couple things. Please come forward, give us your name, where you live, and if you would, fill out a green card and give it to the clerk so she has that information. Our timekeeper will give you 3 minutes if you are speaking as an individual, and if you represent a organization that has a letter on file with the clerk giving you authority to speak, then tell the timekeeper and you'll get 5 minutes. And again, I'll just ask you once again to please keep the talk down in the audience while the people are speaking, and we will begin. Go ahead, first speaker.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Paul Reinhardt, running for State House Rep. And this is a formal complaint being alleged by concerned citizens of Citrus County that Commissioner Carnahan did not legally reside at 8340 South Clockwise Terrace, Floral City, Florida, and possibly never resided at that address. The formal complaint is being addressed to Florida Attorneys General, the Florida Secretary of State, Citrus County Sheriff, Citrus County Supervisor of Elections, Citrus County Clerk of Courts, Citrus County Attorney, and 5 county commissioners, plus other interested parties. On July 24, 2018, according to the Citrus County Supervisor of Elections, Carnahan notified her that he changed his address to 8340 South Clockwise Terrace, Floral City, Florida, on tab 9, and voted in the primary and general elections using that address. The structure located there is a 400-square-foot structure, was not legally approved to be occupied until a certificate of occupancy was issued on October 29, 2019 on tab 12. From July 24, 2018 to October 29, 2019 is 462 days that structure could not be legally occupied. Like Carnahan stated, he resided at that structure and voted twice from that structure. Then on April 17, 2020, the Carnahans sold their home at 8100 North Nige Point, Crystal River, Florida. And on April 27, 2020, the Carnahans purchased a home with acreage at 540 Apopka, Wiggum Road in Wiggum, Georgia, tab 18. It appears they applied for and were granted a homestead exemption S1 by the Grady County, Georgia Tax Assessor's Office, tab 18. Did Commissioner Carnahan reside at 8340 South Clockwise Terrace Road, Floral City, Florida, a structure that was not legal to occupy? Did he always reside at 8100 North Nige Point, Crystal River, Florida, until he bought and homesteaded the Wiggum, Georgia property? According to the state of Georgia, once a residence is homesteaded, it's considered your permanent home for all purposes. Does Citrus County have a commissioner that notified the supervisor of elections that he resided in an address that was not legal to occupy and voted twice from an address that was not legal to occupy until a certificate of occupancy was issued? Does Citrus County have a commissioner that lives in another state? It appears so. Please refer to the public information contained in the booklet. All information was obtained from public sources.
Thank you. Can I have another speaker, please?
Hello, I'm James Bridgeland. I live at 1469 North Fox Run Terrace in Inverness, up near Honando. And I just like, as you're all aware, the Turnpike Extension, several of their suggested paths are going through Citrus County. And I just really wanted to know where you stood as a board on all this, if you were in favor of it, or if we were going to try to discourage it, or where you all sat on this.
Okay, thank you. If, in case you're not aware, folks, once we get all the public input, then the commissioners will respond to your questions that they wish to respond to. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Janet Barrett from Citrus Springs.
Is this a 5 or a 3?
This is a fiver.
Thank you,
All
ma'am.
right. As you know, it's the beginning of 2022, and Citrus Springs has a rental agreement with Citrus County Board of County Commissioners for 127 square feet at the Citrus Springs Community Center. We would like to continue with that, and we're waiting for you to send us an invoice. Eventually, we would like you to lower the price, but currently, we will pay whatever we agreed to pay, so that we stay in good standing with you. There are a couple of things that the people, or residents, I should say, and members of Civic Association wanted me to remind you. In last year's budget, you asked Mr. Oliver to find between $14.5 million and $25 million in this year's budget to pay for what you said needed to be paid for. Okay? In the week, I should say, within the last 2 weeks, there's also been talk from Crystal River of you going to possibly talk with them about adding a boat ramp at the county taxpayers' expense to help Crystal River, since they're closing a boat ramp, which would add more to that. Our question as a civic association and members was, where do you expect taxpayers to keep coming up with the money? We only have so many dollars. Most of us, over 50% of the residents of Citrus County, are on Social Security. We're not all millionaires, like some of you. We're not all thousandaires, like some of you. If you saw how much I get in my Social Security, you'd say, oh. And then you wonder why I give up my free time to come here. My husband says it's a waste of my time. Okay, but for the residents of Citrus Springs, I come here to represent them and their needs. I was happy to see this morning that after the windstorm, West Citrus Springs Boulevard, right next to the community center, this tree that was downed was being cut up and torn and taken away. And it wasn't with a county utilities truck, it was with a private company. I don't know who hired them or if it was how it was being done, but it was nice to see it being taken away. So, yes, I know our dollars go towards some things, and I keep telling that to our residents. Just like I tell them, it doesn't take a day to get what you want done. It usually takes a year and a half. So, as things progress in 2022, I hope you remember. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Is anyone else who would like to address the board?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Bonnie Wilder, and I live in Hernando. The vote that was taken on January 5 to continue to allow the LGBT displays for the Gay Pride Month of June 2022 is totally unacceptable to the majority of citizens who spoke against it. You need to know that your vote will not end this issue, but will grow exponentially as citizens are gaining more information. Now, if you do not reverse this vote, as we are asking, and only allow the approved LGBT display, there are some serious options that we, the people of Citrus County, can consider. Based on the fact that libraries should be presenting all sides of controversial issues, including political points of view, as I believe you are doing on other cases, the libraries are doing, we will demand a fair and balanced right to our own display to oppose the only point of view that you now have allowed. Now, I have no idea what this would consist of, but such an alternate point of view could consist of the book I forgot to bring with me today, but I showed you, The Health Hazards of Homosexuality. This was written not only by medical doctors, but also by the CDC, who want to protect their own LGBT people. It is totally scientific. Second, it is based on scientific gender assignment which is scientific, of either the male and female chromosomes that are fixed for a lifetime, and that is at conception. Third, it could consist of autobiographies of ex-gays who will tell their stories of exiting the LGBT lifestyle, returning to their natural gender assignments, and I have several friends who have done this. Several people, 2 people in the Pulse massacre, you may remember a few years ago, which was just dreadful, had miraculous recoveries, and one of them in particular was almost dead when he was rescued. At that moment, in his witness, he said he felt that God totally transformed him. He was doing the wrong thing, and he has totally changed his life, and these 2 men are giving talks. We could even invite them to a public forum here to tell us more. Another one of my friends, who is an ex-gay, started a ministry, and it's called Free Indeed, and it's based on the Bible truth. We have the truth, and the truth shall set free. Free indeed. In my church here in Citrus County, my pastor had us pass these out to the entire congregation, and we are speaking out on this. We have petitions out on this, and I do believe he's going to become much more active in getting other pastors involved in this issue.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I just real quickly, I noticed that
Could you give us your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Sabrina Watson. I noticed that on the agenda items today was, we were going to be addressing the boat ramp situation again, and I just would like quickly to remind you, I think that it's good that you're looking at a commercial path, but I also want to remind you that I really think that the verbiage needs to be looked at. It's really, I don't know, immoral to keep kids off water and inner tubes. I don't even know what else to say about that. I think the verbiage needs to be looked at, and of course I would request that we're looking at the passes, just a quick reminder, but even if the passes stay as there are, please take a good hard look at that verbiage. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Edna Bachman, Crystal River. I'm here once again to protest the LGBT library display. First, I have a question. At your previous meeting, I submitted an email that I asked be put into the record. I'd like to know if that was done. I presented some valid points that I'd like to be sure were considered. If your purpose is to please the LGBT community, are you aware of their activity in our county? I searched and I found very, very little, other than recently they've started a monthly gathering at a bar restaurant near my home to have a fun night out. If they're not involved in protests or demonstrations for their special privilege, why are you providing them with a mouthpiece? In making your decision, did you seriously consider the evidence that was presented to you? This is scientific and psychological medical proof of the harm being done to young people by fostering such a major decision as to enter into therapies to alter their God-given sexual orientation. And this follows up with what Bonnie said. To be fair, will you have a display of books that are written by the people who have undergone these therapies and have lived to regret it and are speaking out? We want a month of those displays. And again, I'm very interested in understanding why you refused. And my last question is, I'm unable to find what displays are put in the library throughout the year. I went on the library website and wasn't able to see that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Labriola, Inverness. I just wanted to piggyback on what a couple of the earlier speakers said regarding the libraries. First, wanted to thank Commissioners Kitchen and Carnahan for voting the community's values at the last meeting regarding the library displays. And for those other commissioners who felt that, by voting the way that they did, that this issue is dead, actually quite the opposite is true. We are going into the churches, letting pastors know about the vote. We are collecting petitions. I believe we're already over 200 petition signatures to petition the commission to reconsider this issue. A couple of or at least one of the commissioners said that this issue had to do with a process that wasn't followed. As I explained, the process was followed to the best of our ability. I went back and read the policy regarding complaints, citizen complaints, and the process was not followed on the administration side, because when the complaint was initially filed via email, at that point, according to their own procedure, a complaint form A6 dash something or other was supposed to be provided at that point. That was used as an excuse in the agenda backup to say that we did not follow the process, when in fact it was the administration and the library director that did not follow the process by providing that form if he felt it was so important. As I said before, he waived that by responding to the complaint, and then on top of that, we went to not one, not two, but 3 library advisory board meetings. And again, it was not properly addressed. So to those commissioners or commissioner who said that, that they felt that the process wasn't followed, we decided to go ahead and begin the process all over again. As I said, by voting the way you did, and I said this the last time, you're not making this go away, you're just making it drag out longer and longer, and as you see here now, we're addressing it again. And people are very much motivated and more mobilized than ever. So I would ask you to, those who said that the process was not followed, we're starting all over again, and we're asking you again to please reconsider your decision at the last meeting, because this issue is not going away, it's actually getting bigger and bigger. So thank you again, and we hope that you will address this issue and, again, vote the values of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other speakers?
Debbie Wheatley, Inverness. Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mr. Oliver and the county attorneys. Again, as has been restated, this issue with the library is not going away. This is what your constituents that voted for you pay your salaries as taxpayers. We are your bosses, if you want to look at it that way, and I'm seriously hoping that you will reconsider your vote, because could be you could have very short political careers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board at this time? Anyone else? Last call for public input. Okay, we're going to close public input. Commissioner Carnahan, if you want, I'm going to give you the floor first.
I'll jump right there, because evidently there's jealous people, because, yeah, I do have a piece of property in Georgia, right next to my granddaughter, okay? Do I spend some time up there? You bet, because I love that little girl to death, and with my daughter, okay? I didn't realize it was against the law to own property in other states, but I do. So do I get to spend some time up there? Yes. Citrus County resident, yes I am, have been all my life and always will be. So if that's a crime to go visit my granddaughter and spend time with her, God bless you, sir, because you need help, really and truthfully. Other than that, I'm good.
That's it? Okay, Commissioner Slabaugh?
I heard what the citizens had to say, and I will absorb it. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Davis?
I think I'm going to say ditto.
All right. And Commissioner Kennard?
I appreciate all the respectful comments, and I have gotten a number of emails, folks disagreeing with the last vote that we had on this. My position hasn't changed, and I'm ready to move on. But I appreciate the tone, the respectful tone of the comments and the emails that have been sent. Janet, you've been here probably more meetings than anybody else out in the audience, and you've watched us go through this whole discussion of the public boat ramps and the launch fee and so forth. The whole purpose of implementing those was to be able to make improvements to the boat ramps And so this isn't, any discussion that comes forward is not about using taxpayer dollars or general fund dollars. It's, we have a revenue stream from launching boats, and the purpose of that even being in place is to improve our boat ramp. So I'm looking forward to that discussion that's on our agenda, and we will talk about it then.
Okay, I guess I'll be the talkative one today. A couple questions that were asked. First was about the Turnpike Extension. This is a good segue for something we do need to talk about. We have the Board of County Commissioners has not received any presentation as of to date about the Turnpike Extension. One is planned for at our Leadership Summit on the end of this month, on the 28th, I believe is the Friday, at 9 a.m. out at the Lecanto Government Building. We have the Turnpike, or I guess it's the Turnpike Authority that'll be making the presentation. They've agreed to make the presentation at that time, since it'll have the school board, both city councils, and the Board of County Commissioners present at that time. My feeling is, since we have yet to see a presentation, we haven't seen what they've come up with, this would be the first opportunity. Again, just to remind everybody, at this meeting, public input will not be taken, but the elected officials there will have an opportunity to discuss and talk with the folks from the Turnpike Authority about this. So this will be our first real opportunity in a public forum to hear what they have in mind, what they're proposing, and to discuss it. And then, at that time, I'm sure then the board will schedule time in our agenda or a workshop afterwards to discuss what we've heard and determine, what we want to do as far as a position or what it will take to create one. I know that there has been talk of another event scheduled that day at 10 o'clock at the college. My feeling, commissioners, is that we start at 9 o'clock per plan, and if somebody needs to leave at 10, they can do that, and then they come back when they're done. But I can't see canceling an event that we've done for 7 years virtually on the same day, for a ceremony. That's my feeling. So there's nothing officially on the agenda, but if you're planning on not coming to the leadership retreat, this would be a good time to talk about it. So before we move on, maybe we can clear that up. But to answer that question, once we hear the presentation and everyone will hear it at the same time, then we'll be able to have some useful information, hopefully, to go forward. Somebody else asked the question about sending an email in, was it read? No, it was not. We don't it's not our policy to read emails into the record at commission meetings. That's why you're here. So you can come up and say what you have to say, and we hear what you have to say. So you can send an email, we read it, some respond, but we don't, if we read every email we received at a board meeting, we'd be here for quite some time. So it's been our policy that only those in person have their comments put into the record, and then, and of course, it's up to a commissioner. If a commissioner wants to read correspondence from folks in the community, that's their choice. They can do that, but it has not been our policy to do that, because then you got to say, well, you only read so-and-so's emails and you didn't read my email, and we get into that. So we give preference to the folks that are at the meetings to come up and speak as many times as the issues are in front of us to address. And the other thing about the library displays, I don't know. I've had a lot of people say they've gone to the website for the libraries and they can't find the information they're looking for there. My understanding is there's some reorganization on the website taking place, because some of this is only on the inter-county website, which the public can't get to. So I believe there's been an effort made to get this out in the format that the public can address. I think that's the questions that came up. The rest of it is pretty straightforward. My position hasn't changed on the library vote. I voted the way I did. And so with that said, I think that's the only questions I saw up here. And so before we go ahead, we need to have some guidance on the Leadership Summit, since is it next week?
Yeah,
Next Friday,
right?
yeah. So that's my plan. I'll be at LGBT at 9 o'clock to hear the FDOT. What does the rest of you plan to do?
I definitely, I can just reach out there real quick and say that I definitely had some other elected officials that, I bumped into concern about that day, and they felt that we should move it to another date. So, it's definitely some of the other feelings out there. So.
Okay.
But you're the chair, I'll do as you
Well,
want.
it doesn't matter to me, whatever you all want to do.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Given that we've got 4 elected boards there, and I would think that a number of folks, I don't know how many, maybe it's 2, maybe it's the majority of the folks, may want to attend that ceremony. I had asked Randy if the possibility was there to start our meeting a little bit earlier, get DOT scheduled earlier, so that we could get that presentation out of the way. We go down the road a little ways, attend the ceremony, and then come back to our meeting and pick right up there. It'd be an interruption, but I think a relatively minor interruption, and still be able to get our meeting in, give the show of folks out at this dedication that really should be there. That it's a big deal for our community, for Senator Dean, and for the college. So, starting at 8 or 8:30, whenever DOT could get there.
Well, my understanding is we had already advertised this meeting to start at 9. And so it's a public meeting. We'd have to re-advertise it and go through that. My understanding is DOT said they might take 20, 30 minutes, right? So I don't know why we can't start at 9, and folks that want to go over to the college can still do that and then come back when they want or when it's done. So, we can, this way nothing really needs to change. We can just take a recess from the summit, go do that, and come back.
Yeah, if they're only going to be 20 or 30 minutes, and we can begin promptly at 9 o'clock and take a recess at 9:30 for the for this dedication, and then come right back to our meeting. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, well, I can assure you, we'll start promptly at 9 o'clock. I can't, And again, if DOT runs long because of questions or something, we can ask them if they would hold on during the recess, and when we come back after, the other event, then we can do that. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Well, I think what you're going to, and again, I don't have a problem with that, but I think what you're going to get is people that go to the dedication, and then I don't think they come back. This is the issue that I see.
Well, that's their choice.
I know, it is. I'm just giving you what I think.
Okay.
I'll be there.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to reiterate, I am not able to make that meeting. I haven't been able to from the beginning, but I did ask staff to give me any information on what's happening with the Turnpike and FDOT.
Okay.
I'll be there. I was going to make the same suggestion to start earlier.
Okay. So, we're on as planned, and when we'll break at 9:30 or as soon as possible, and folks that need to can head over, and then we'll come back after that.
I'll remind DOT.
Okay. All right. So we're good with that. So with that said, I believe it is 1:33, and we have some time certains. How that? Madam Clerk, we're within 3 minutes of a time certain. That's unbelievable to me. So we're going to move, for those of you following along, we're going to move to time certain H1 130 for the annual investment presentation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Randy, Denise. Happy New Year. This is the first time I think I've addressed you since the January 31st, December 31st rolled over. Let's see, do we have him on? Can we see him?
Sounds like Leonard Greenbaum.
Oh, I'm ready to.
Yeah.
Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon, everybody.
There it is. Okay. Well, good afternoon. We have with us on the line, regrettably not in video, Stephen Alexander with PFM, who is the firm contracted by the board and clerk for oversight of the investment portfolio. Steve, is Scott joining us as well?
No, I'll be here.
No, just Stephen. Okay. Okay. We've asked Stephen to join the call this afternoon, the presentation this afternoon, just in the event that you have any questions that exceed my knowledge, and those can be addressed at the time. We provided to you a copy of the investment performance review for the quarter ending September the 30th in its entirety. You should have received that last week. Typically, we provide that after this presentation. The presentation that we have for you today is very brief. It's just an overview, a summary. But in light of the decline in the investment, we wanted to make sure that we were answering any questions that we could immediately. You don't have to be in fear that anything is in danger, but with the condition of the market over, of course, everyone is aware of this, over the last year, there is a significant difference between the investment earnings from last year to this year. And as always, we are available for conversation and discussion in further detail related to this. I think we already have some meetings scheduled in the future for any questions that you may have. This investment is provided to you on an annual basis. This is something that we are required by our policy, the investment policy, to bring before the board just for visibility and for your information. The decline, as you can see, we were, I think, at 1.4. Regrettably, I don't have that up there, but there were investment earnings of $447,000 for the fiscal year ending September the 30th, 2021. I'm sure, again, you're all aware of the challenges that all investment portfolios have met throughout this past year. And then if you can go to the next screen. This is the makeup of your portfolio as you see it today. It's in various investment instruments, and it is well diversified over the approved investment instruments that we are allowed to invest in. We are not bringing before you this year any changes in the current investment policy. We review the investment policy on an annual basis to see if there is any opportunities for updates or changes. There aren't any at this particular time, and I imagine that those will stay steady on. I'm sure you're aware that the investments of the clerk and the board, investments of the board, you, as we're speaking to today, are guided by Florida statute, and we can't move outside of those. They are pretty strict parameters that we stay within because our goal, as always, is safety first. Safety in making sure that your investments are not in any danger. Do you have any questions at this time that we may ask, that we may answer? And again, we also have Steve on the line if you have any specific questions related to the report that you received last week.
Board, any questions?
Nope, none
No.
of them.
I just had a couple generic ones. How do we feel? I guess it depends. They say that during times of inflation, those that borrow money are hurt, and those that are earning interest gain, because now they're talking about increases in the interest rate. As you look into the crystal ball for next year, any indication of how the really historical inflation rates we're looking at right now are going to affect our situation in next year?
Well, my immediate response to that, we'll continue to feel the pain of what we have experienced over the last several months. But Steve, could you provide a more detailed response to that? This is our chairman, Commissioner Ron Kitchen, is asking the question.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, it's my pleasure to. I think that's a very important question since we're really at a pivotal point here with interest rates. As you know, the Federal Reserve is poised to start raising rates this year, starting in March. We think that maybe 4 rate increases this year could be easily on the horizon. And so interest rates have already responded to this potential Fed increase we see short terms and intermediate interest rates have already come up from their historical lows, anticipating the Fed's going to raise. So you're absolutely right. We're going to be entering a time period where interest rates will be higher, finally. Well, maybe we'll finally have some interest rates. And so investors will be pleased about higher interest rates. Borrowers will see an interest rate increase or a borrowing rate increase, so we'll have that transitional phase that we'll go through where borrowing rates were great over the last couple of years, and they're going to be a little more challenged going forward. So this is going to be one of those years we're going to go from historical low interest rates to hopefully a little more normal rates, but relatively speaking, we still have very, very low interest rates. We're looking at maybe as high as 2.5% versus 0, but obviously from historical, that's still very low.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions I may answer?
Nope. I think, again, it's a great report. I think you guys do a fabulous job watching over the taxpayer dollars. So, and it's nice to have money that, I guess, that's available to invest. Right?
Thank you. We've worked very hard to try to keep the money moving in the right directions, have it in the right place at the right time. But it's just, when you get we're 5 basis points, woo-hoo, that is just really, I'm not celebrating. Steve, no offense to you, that I know you don't control that, but anyway.
Well,
if I did, I would make it a lot higher.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, people should keep in mind with 7% inflation, if you were making record income on 5% interest, you're still losing 2% by having your money in an investment. So it's strange times for sure.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your time. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Is that it, Madam Clerk, for your presentation then? Yes, sir. Okay, I guess we're ready to move on then to the 140 public hearing on an ordinance pertaining to manatee protection zones. This is item H2. And who will be doing this? I know we're going to do a public hearing. Do you want to read the ordinance first, like we usually do, and then we'll do the public hearing and then discuss it? Is that the
Yes,
plan?
sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners. At the conclusion of this public hearing, you're going to be asked to consider an ordinance of Citrus County, Florida relating to boating regulatory zones for the protection of manatees, establishing manatee protection zones in places within the county known to be inhabited by manatees on a regular basis, creating Chapter 64, Article 1, entitled Manatee Protection Zones, providing for severability, providing for modifications that may arise from consideration at public hearings, providing for scrivener's errors, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
And I would note that we have informally sent this to FWC twice. They've made some comments and they looked at the changes that we made. This isn't an official approval, but they've indicated that it's something that they're comfortable with. Once this is approved by the board, it's still got to go to FWC for formal approval before we can implement the new signage. We're hopeful to make this coincide with the end of manatee season, but it's really up to FWC.
So just before we open it to the public hearing, once we hear from the public, once the board takes action, if they do approve this, it goes back to FWC, and then any timeframes totally up to them?
It's just a matter then of us ordering the signage. I know we have some posts to put in the water to provide additional signage, and changing the signage, since we got our own sign shop, is probably pretty straightforward. It's going to be driving the piles for the additional signage, and I don't have a time frame on that right now.
Okay, I guess I was looking at the effective date. What legally are we looking at as the effective date if we approve this today?
It's difficult to say because we're not sure when FWC is going to give their final approval. And also, one other step, we also have to get the signs permitted. So FWC has to accept the ordinance or approve the ordinance, and then we have to get permits for the signs. So there's one other step. So it's difficult to say. Our ordinance will be effective 10 days after it's filed with the state, subject to approval.
Just making it clear that even if the board takes action today, it's back in the state's hands.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, at this time, then, we are going to open up the public hearing dealing with this ordinance. So if you're here and you wish to speak either in favor or opposed to this, just tell us which when you come up, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Does anybody wish to speak in regarding to this ordinance? I'm seeing which way Rodney turns to see if he's coming up. Okay, I guess Rodney's coming up, okay.
Ladies, gentlemen, Ron,
I noticed I wasn't included in either paragraph. Could you give us your name for the record, please?
Rodney McRae,
Yeah.
I live at 10670 West Hallsgrove Road, Homosexuality. Scott, Commissioner, I own land in Georgia.
I know you do. And it's fun to go up there and,
Yes, it
spend a
is.
little time when you can,
I enjoy
right?
it a lot, and I think you should enjoy it.
Okay, I should ask you to stick to the
Sorry,
topic
stick
of the
to the
ordinance.
subject.
Okay.
I digress. Question on, I have not read the actual ordinance, just what you read into the record. I'm sorry. But this does relate to the speed zone between Monkey Island and Marker 7, does it not? To you?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. As far as the signage goes, it would be my opinion that there shouldn't be any permits needed for changing the signs out. The pilings are already there. The signage is already there. You're just changing the verbiage on the signs themselves. No additional pilings are needed. You're just closing the gap between two zones already and making it the same. So there should be no reason for new pilings or permits to set the signs. You've already got a permit for those signs. You're just changing the verbiage on the sign. Maybe.
We'll have that addressed when we're done with the public hearing.
Okay. You've answered my question. It's nice to see you guys. I'd like to see you after the meeting.
Oh, boy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
That's
you,
trouble.
thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else here that would wish to speak in favor or opposed to this ordinance? Anyone else to speak? This will be the third and final time we call for public input in favor or opposed to the ordinance. So we will close the public hearing. Before we move forward, can you answer that question specifically?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Mr. McCray is correct. Perhaps FWC will see it a different way, but we will make sure we ask the question and file the appropriate documents, and we may get a response back consistent with Mr. McCray, or we might not.
Currently, we put the signs up during season, then take them down at the end of the season, so I don't know exactly how they're permitted.
Okay. Well, we'll find out once we see what the board wants to do. Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Slabaugh.
My questions are the signage. You're saying you just leave the pilings there in the off-season? So, okay.
I thought Mark told me they were proposing to put in one or two more pilings, but I don't know.
So
for
5
sure.
months out of the year, there's just the piling there?
Mhm.
Okay. So we're talking about closing the gap, and I think most of these questions are for our county attorney. And if we put a sign on the bridge, say Fishbowl Bridge, do we have to get permitted from FWC if it's put on the bridge, not in the water?
I don't think these signs.
No, I'm just, this is just another question I have.
Okay, this has nothing to do with these, because these signs aren't anywhere near that.
I know, but.
Okay, I would think that if we were going to put up a sign on a bridge, we would probably need maybe DOT, depending on who owns the road, we might need
Okay.
DOT's permission, and we might need FWC's, but I can't answer that in the abstract.
Okay, and we basically, whatever FWC decides is with Manatee protection and the slow zone, we have to follow, correct?
This is actually an ordinance of Citrus County setting forth that zone as being a protected area. So FWC has to decide whether they believe that it is frequented by Manatee and that it is appropriate for the county to regulate the speed in that area. So it is actually our regulation.
So we're getting ahead, we're handling it before it gets to a state level, basically.
Well, in light of the activity and the discussion that have been going on about manatees and what have been happening to manatees, we think that the timing's right that FWC will favorably consider this.
Okay, so we're proactive. Okay, that's great. And then I understood, I've gotten several emails, that this will be a problem. I'm not a boater, but I've heard that it really will only increase the time 7 minutes each way. And I don't know if that makes a difference to people. It's not an hour, it's just a 7-minute out to get out and 7 minutes additional time to get back in. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've gotten from a captain that does it several times, a day. And then I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. We'd be looking for a motion to approve this, if you want to have some more
Mr.
discussion.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we approve creating Chapter 64, Article 1, entitled Manatee Protection Zone.
Second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Carnahan. Is there any further board discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would amend my motion to include item B and authorize the chairman to execute the ordinance.
Very good, thank you.
Also amend.
All right. Okay, so no further discussion. We've had the public hearing. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Ready now to move on to item 3, and that is the 145 time certain with the City of Crystal River.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and thank you so much for having me. Randy, thank you for putting this on the agenda. What I'm here to talk about is it's a concept that's something I've been thinking about for a while. It's a potential partnership between the Board of County Commissioners and the City of Crystal River to solve what I see as some mutual issues. I will tell you, this is a concept at this point. I probably have more questions than you do how we're going to proceed, but I wanted to see if it's something we want to collectively attack, because I think we can really work together to solve some big issues out there as we're moving forward. And I will tell you, as opposed to what you read in the press, I'm not here asking for money. That's something that we would identify later on down the road.
I don't read the press.
Name.
What?
Name.
Oh, did you not give us your name when you started?
Yes, Mr. Attorney. Well, Ken Frank.
Okay, thank you.
So, just kind of a background on where we are right now. The city is nearing the completion of permitting for funding for the Kings Bay Riverwalk. We're somewhat fully funded on this. If we use the ARPA funds, we'd rather not. We think this is really a state issue as well, building the Riverwalk, so we've asked the state to contribute. We're going through that process, and we're nearing the completion of the permitting. We've got some sovereign submerged land issues we're working through, but the environmental issues are pretty much cleaned up, so we're moving forward with that. We do expect to bid the project during the 22-23, or the conclusion of the 22-23 Manatee season, when we would commence construction, and over the course of the preceding 6 months, bid it out. Now, the Riverwalk does include the closure of the Northwest 3rd Avenue boat ramp, and those that have been around a while, that's the Knox's Bait House boat ramp we're all familiar with. The city did recognize it is not a big used ramp, but it is very local to the people that live in that area. So we wish to relocate it. We did talk to the state about putting it up on the state park over by the old Shrimp Docks or Yacht Club. They do not wish it to go there. And that's where I started looking at other alternatives and came up with this concept, because we really would like to move that capacity someplace else on the boat ramp we're going to lose. So this is an aerial of Fort Island Trail Park. I think you're all familiar with it. That's the river on the north side, on the top. Twin Rivers Marine is off to the left. You can see the boat ramp and the existing parking lot.
Can you see?
Now, this is a very rudimentary analysis. I did this myself, but it just kind of gives you the picture of what I think can be done out here. So what I did was we just drew boxes, just generic boxes around the existing 2 parking aisles there, just to get a sense of what's out there. And if you look, there's a ton of real estate off to the left. I guess it would be towards the west. Of an opportunity to expand that parking, because what's the problem out there, in my opinion, is not so much the 2 ramps themselves, but it's the parking. Because what happens is, during busy season, scallop season, these people are all parked up and down Fort Island Trail, and if somebody wants to launch or retrieve their boat or take their boat out, they're having to walk all the way down Fort Island Trail to get their vehicle, and taking time as they're choking up that boat ramp, and you've got boats all lined up out into the Crystal River. So what is the big issue? Because I'm focusing on this area in the circle, and again, these are just kind of a broad brush look at this. So the big issue you got up there is that ditch. That was built by a previous property owner. It was dredged. The county actually owns the bottom there. It's not waters of the state, so it is a man-made feature. And this is that ditch. And I'm not a professional when it comes to ecology or wetlands, but you can go out there and look at this, and it's almost void of wetland plants, void of anything on the bottom. So it's, to me, it's something that, you know, it's probably somewhat, with the proper permitting, easy to fill in. So here we are again, back to this. So using those same size rectangles, essentially, just to look at a scale of what we can accomplish here. These are those exact same sizes. You know, we could just keep marching across. Using this analogy, you could potentially double or 2.5 times the amount of parking that's there now, just based on this real simple desktop analysis I did. That doesn't look at any property off to the north. It does not include that, you know, we know there's people parking in the trees there during really busy season, but it's really haphazard, and there's no efficiency in it. So just looking at it this way, I think we could mutually solve some issues with capacity at that boat ramp. So how do we pay for this? There's 2 major grants, and this is me discussing with partners up at the FWC. There's a program out there, it's called the Florida Boating Improvement Program, and that pays for boat ramp expansions, anything to do with boating improvements. It's 100% grant from the state, and it will pay for design and permitting of something like this. Construction-wise, what the state is suggesting is, at this point, because the FBIP is a limited program, it's very competitive, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Sports Fish Restoration Grant, it's not so competitive. There's a lot more money available, but unfortunately it's a 75% grant with a 25% local match. Now the beauty about this is the FWC is a state agency, so they're considered local from the federal agency, and the funds associated with that could be used as portions of the local match. So in my opinion, without a plan in front of us, but just concept-wise, you know, we're looking at doing this improvement, you know, 10 cents on the dollar. It's the 10 cents that we haven't identified yet. So what is the City of Crystal River requesting? And I took this in front of the City Council last week and got unanimous approval to come and talk to you all about it, is the city would like to partner with the county to expand the parking capacity and potentially a 3rd ramp at the Fort Island Trail boat ramp. When I say 3rd ramp, as we go through the engineering studies, we really need to determine where's the choke point. Is it the parking, the boat ramp, both, or mutually exclusive? So we'd have to develop a project scope. I'd like to work with your staff to develop a project scope. Of course, we've got the Manatee Protection Plan. We need to evaluate the compatibility with that document. Now, I will tell you that, you know, back in my previous times at the county, adding additional parking at a facility has been done. So this is not setting precedents. The old McRae's boat ramp didn't have a parking lot 20-something years ago. I was actually the project manager when we added that parking on Dr. Vesley's property. We purchased the property from him. We installed the boat ramp. So this is not something new to the Manatee Protection Plan. And of course, identify sources of any local match. You know, just a thumbnail approach. I'm looking at about a 10% cost on this. There's all kinds of money available. I can't speak for the City Council right now to see if they would want to contribute, but obviously there's an opportunity there. There's lots of other money available out there to solve this, and I'm not asking for that at this point, but I'd like to work with your staff to identify future funding potential sources. So what I'd like to do is with your indulgence, is allow the city to take the lead and apply for a grant for the design and permitting of parking improvements and a possible ramp expansion at Fort Island Trail Park. Once permitted, the city would apply for construction funds through the federal program. And I'm assuming both this board and my council is going to want regular feedback as we move forward. So with that, I will be quiet and be available for questions.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Slabaugh.
If this were to go through and there was a boat ramp fee, who gets the collection of the boat ramp fee revenue?
Not the city. I mean, the county would continue to collect that.
I just wanted to make sure.
Mr. Chair?
Are you done, Commissioner?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Forgot
Yes,
the
Commissioner
rules.
Kenner?
Yeah, I love the idea, and we don't know where it's going yet, but I love the idea of, one, a partnership with the city, recognizing that removing one boat ramp for the construction of the Riverwalk is going to create an issue of capacity in that area. Now, we do have, hopefully sooner rather than later, we do have a large boat ramp opening up at the barge canal, but that doesn't take away the fact that this ramp needs help. It may very well be that the two slips there are more than enough to handle the amount of vehicles, the boat traffic that moves through there. And you may find out through this process what's missing is dock space to moor up your boat while you go and track down your vehicle and get back in line and so forth. But the ramps can still remain operational. As it stands right now, you can tie up, I think maybe you can moor maybe 3 boats there, and then the ramps are at a standstill until somebody makes a trek out to Fort Island Trail, gets their truck and trailer and gets back in line and so forth. So we'll see what comes of it. But I like the idea. We do have a revenue stream that was put in place specifically for these types of projects, expansion, improvement of our boat ramps. And if we can make the parking out there, as Ken said, those of us that use the ramps have seen all the trucks and trailers parked in and amongst all the trees and backed in wherever they can possibly squeeze them until they work their way out to Fort Island Trail, and then they're up and down Fort Island Trail on both sides of the road. If we can make that a little bit more organized and a cooperative effort and using the funds that we're collecting for using this ramp, I think it's a great project. And it sounds like we're given the speed of smell that government works at. My guess is we're probably a couple years, 3 years down the road before we even know if we move forward with this is the 10 or 25% or whatever it is, that we're looking at. Now let's find that money. So I'm all for it.
Okay. Yes. Commissioner Davis.
I think that this is it's almost immaterial that you're losing a ramp in Crystal River. We need this expansion regardless, with everybody parked cattywampus out there. And to Commissioner Kennard's point, I've launched boats, as you know, many times in my lifetime as well. So I'm totally picturing having the 3 moored up and completely shutting down the ramps while people are hoofing it all the way out to Fort Island Trail, not to mention the safety aspect of that too, with traffic coming and going. My only question would be, and it does from your picture and you eyeballing it about wetland conditions, your spidey sense is that it's going to clear that hurdle. I typically like to go out and eyeball things before I'm on the dais, considering something. Certainly I've been out there many times, but I haven't looked at the ditch, so thank you for the picture. What is the bridge? Is that a little bridge?
A little story about, I was actually the project manager when we built that back 25 years ago to connect the haphazard parking over there. So he has a bridge just to connect the north side and the south side.
It's effective, it's known as Brad's Bridge, I understand.
Okay, Brad. What is the...
It's known as...
what was the purpose of the ditch? Do you know? Just out of curiosity?
It's been thrown at me. They were going to do some development on it. It's been thrown at me. They needed dredge material for filling, so I really don't know.
They're selling waterfront property in Arizona?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Just checking. But I'm all in favor of it. I think it's a great idea, and thank you for spearheading that. And I also love the cooperation between both cities and the county. So I'm all.
Okay. Commissioner Carnahan, you good? Okay. Well, what I hear is that you're looking for cooperation from the county, and we don't know what it's going to cost yet. So I can support that. It's always the devil's in the details when the cost comes back. Is it 10% or 12% or no percent? And is that $50 or $50 million? We don't know. So it's hard to say, yeah, we commit absolutely to it. Because one of the reasons I remember this particular area specifically being talked about when we talked about the boat ramp fees and doing this very thing. And one of the things that we're talking about would be what the extraordinary cost of doing this was going to be. So that'll be interesting to see what the costs come out to be. But, yeah, I mean, we know we need more access for those very reasons out there. So if what you're looking at is the consensus from the board for saying, yeah, we'd like to, see what you come up with and like to be more involved with it, I mean, it's really about all we can do. You can't say, count us in until we know what the bottom line is and where it's coming from, but, because 10% is great, but if it's 10% of $100 million, then we still have a problem, right? So that'll be what the key is for me, so. Okay, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I will support your efforts. I did not say that, so, just so that the chair will know where we stand.
I heard a consensus saying we're with you, so.
All right. I don't need a vote. I think that the first time I'm going to need a vote is once we put this grant document together. You are the property owner, so I'm sure there'll be some sign-off of it required on that.
Well, and again, just so we're clear, as I said, it's always in the details. The question came up about, ownership will remain with the county, but fees will remain with the county. I'm sure there's going to be legal issues of, that you all are going to have to deal with about how do you get a city grant for county property, those kind of things, but I assume that's the kind of things you'll be working around. You said the boardwalk or the Riverwalk would be constructed at the end of the 22-23 Manatee season, so that's more than a year away then, right? We're looking at,
Yes,
April
sir.
23 is the earliest now, right?
Yeah, number one, we don't have the final permits yet.
Right.
And we've asked the state to contribute, because it really is, and if you heard Dr. Mazzullo at the delegation meeting, he recognized it's really a statewide project we're working on. So right now, it looks like the state may step in and help fund some of it. And that way, we could use our ARPA funds to do more localized projects.
But you technically don't have to take this boat ramp offline, do you, until you start construction on the Riverwalk?
Correct.
Okay, so it's still there. This is in the planning stage. You don't.
Trying to get ahead of it.
Right, okay. Very good. Okay, so does anybody disagree that we can tell the Crystal River City Council we would like to participate with them pending what the final cost is and what all the details are? So,
I do not disagree.
okay, sounds like we're all set on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for being here today. Okay, any other comments on any of that? Okay, well then let's jump back to, I believe we're up to our regular business now, which would be item E. And we're looking at bids. Mr. Oliver, you said you had a correction to one of the bids?
Yes, I just have an easy correction to,
I think you said.
E1B, Professional Services Industries, Inc. Did not get the necessary paperwork back, so we didn't have it to be able to give to you all for signature. So we'd ask that item be deleted from this agenda item.
So you want all of item E1B removed?
No, just
them?
Just that particular contract.
Okay, and say that one more time?
It's the one for Professional Services Industries, Inc.
Okay. Okay, so with that said, Board, would you like to do all the bids together or one at a time? That we looking through F?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion to approve item E1A through F, I believe it is. Yes, with the change to item E1B, that we remove the contract for Professional Services Industries, Inc.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Slaybaugh. Is there any public comment on the motion? Is there any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that passes unanimously. Item E2, please.
Chair, make a motion to approve item E2.
Okay, let me have Randy tell us what it is.
Okay,
and we'll-
approved budget.
Waiting on you.
I'm like, well, we're going.
Okay.
Approved budget transfers for the Visitor Convention Bureau and the Board of County Commissioners for fiscal year 21-22.
So Commissioner Davis, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any further discussion? Is there any public input on this? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. And that passes unanimously. Item E3, please, Mr. Oliver.
Yes, approve and authorize the chairman to execute releases of lien for property abatement assessments by and between Citrus County, Florida, and certain property owners. B, authorize the clerk to record the releases of liens in the public record of Citrus County, Florida.
Chair, I move to approve E4A.
And that'd be E3.
I'm sorry. Oh, we're at E3?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I move to approve E3, A, and B.
Okay.
Second.
I wrote on the
Commissioner
wrong
Slaybach
line.
makes a motion, a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Is there any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Item E4, please.
Yes, A, approve and authorize chairman to execute the affidavit necessary for title clearance for lots 13 through 28 inclusive, block 109, Citrus Springs, Unit 2. B, approve and authorize the chairman to accept the general warranty deed from Habitat for the same property. C, authorize clerk to place acceptance stamp on the general warranty deed and recorded affidavit and recorded land records of Citrus County. So we would ask for approval of A, B, and C.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve item E4, A, B, and C.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Kennard makes a motion, second by Commissioner Slaybach. Is there any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Janet Barrick, Citrus Springs. The Citrus Springs Civic Association has been working with Habitat for Humanity for at least 2 years, trying to make sure that everything that they want to do follows our deed restrictions. And everything that you're going to approve, hopefully today, is in line with the deed restrictions. They have verbally and given us all the assurances that everything will be followed, and this unit looks like it's going to be a perfect fit for anybody that lives in Citrus County, because it's got good road to get to and from for jobs, whether it's Citrus County jobs or Marion County jobs. And it's going to be a good fit for the county because we're going to actually have some affordable housing that are houses. Not little rinky-dink things, but a decent size that follow all the things that need to be followed. So I'd love to see you approve this.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on the motion? Okay, board, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. E5, please.
Yes, adopt and authorize the chairman to execute resolutions and certificates of incumbency and authority authorizing select county staff to execute permit applications on behalf of Citrus County for the Florida Department of Emergency Protection, Southwest Florida Water Management District, and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Board, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve item E5.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kennard, second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Commissioners, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. E6, please.
Yes, E6, we're thinking optimistically. We're asking for you to board approval of the FY 2023 residential resurfacing project list in the amount of $6 million. This bid would be issued sometime in August for award in September, but it couldn't be start till October 1 because funding won't be in place till October 1. We currently have in the current budget $4 million funded. The board's trying to get to that $10 to $12 million figure, so we've prepared this list a little larger to that. This is going to obviously be subject to identifying that additional funding as part of the 22-23 budget process. The B item is the approval of the actual list for the 2023 MSBU roadway list too.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'm finished.
I was just going to say, so just so we're clear, the board could approve this list if they so desires, even though that technically we haven't as of yet budgeted that 6 million. So if the board only budgets 4 or 3 or whatever, then that list can be backed off. So
Yeah,
what,
it'll be priority order, so we'll cut it back based on the priorities in there.
right, great. Well, I would just say, great. I'm glad we're thinking a half a year ahead of time instead of a half a year behind time, and we're getting out in front of it. The only other point I would make, and I've said this over and over again, I think that this needs to be worked into the budget as a maintenance item. So the other 2 million, I would hope that the board wouldn't go to any capital fund like the Duke Fund, because we agreed when we put that into place, that was for capital improvements, and road resurfacing is clearly maintenance. So,
Agree.
So I would think that, and again, my thought was, as I mentioned at the retreat, board members, that, you know, if we have to raise it to get up to 10 or 12 million a year, it doesn't have to happen in 1 year. You know, it can go from 4 to 5 or 6 to 7 or 8 and, you know, work its way up as the county continues to grow, that those funding should be available. So I would support this based on those 2 things, just knowing that, you know, we're not locked into the 6 million if later on the board decides they don't want to do that. So what would you like to do, board?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve item E6, A and B.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Janet Barrick, Citrus Springs resident and Citrus County resident. I was here at all these lovely meetings, okay? Yeah, 4 million is what you got this year, and it was talked about that you need 10+ million per year. It was also suggested that 3 million, not 2 million, get put into the budget. And it was suggested that it was budget and it goes under maintenance. And I agree with that, Mr. Kitchen. It is budget, okay? The other thing that I didn't understand is how come if Citrus Springs is the only MSBU, why it doesn't say the FY 2023 Citrus Springs MSBU, since we are the only ones putting money in there, into that project, and we'll put in whatever we have to. I mean, we've been given a decent amount of money every year so that we can get our roads taken care of very slowly, but taken care of nonetheless. You know, I'm here to say we have a lot of people that complain about your road project plan, but I try and explain it to them to the best of my ability. And 30 years from now, they will have all the roads in Citrus Springs halfway paved. And I say that when I look at how many roads there are. We need to increase the roads. I agree past this at this point, but I would say a minimum of 6 million. Not a 6 million is the total, but a minimum.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak to this agenda item? For the record, please show that the representative from Citrus Springs said they will put in whatever amount of money it takes to get the roads done. So anyway, a little bit of levity there. So with that said, there's no further citizen input. Board, we're looking at approval of item E6, motion made for approval by Commissioner Kennard, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. And that passes unanimously. E7, please.
Yes, approve and authorize chairman to execute the agreement between Citrus County, Florida and the local 4562 professional firefighters of Citrus County International Association of Firefighters with an effective date of October 1st of 2021, and this agreement is for the captain and lieutenants. If you recall previously, you approved the agreement for the rank and file.
Board, what is your...
Chair, make a motion to approve E7.
Okay, Commissioner Davis makes a motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Is there any further board discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. And that passes unanimously. Item E8, please.
Yes, the chamber sent a letter requesting additional funds for various things. It is included in your backup. We're going to be seeking direction from the board as it relates to what you would like to do. I believe that a representative from the chamber is in attendance.
Okay. Board, what's your pleasure on item E8?
Well, I got some questions.
Yes, sir.
Because giving the mini grants, that's not going to float, okay? It's not going to pass muster with the feds. Now, the way I think that we talked about is bringing the people that do the websites and things like that, working with the business and pay them for their time versus giving mini grants. Is that correct? Is that how it's going to be done? Because we can't, the last thing is giving I don't think giving a mini grant to a business is going to pass muster with the stipulations we got to go by. But we can use the money to bring in, web designers and things like that to work with the businesses and pay them for their time to build the websites for them. Isn't that correct?
Can you, when you speak, can you identify?
In my opinion, the answer to that is yes. At this point, these are county funds out of the general fund. I think that you can pay the provider of that service directly. I don't think that we have the legal authority, but I'll defer to the county attorney to do grants to businesses for that type of thing.
County attorney, you want to comment?
I don't disagree.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Jim Green with Score Nature Coast and Central Business Alliance, Don Faherty with Core Business Center. If you have any questions, the proposal was that we would assist by feeding additional funds into having consultants at the Core Business Center to help small businesses to grow their business through improving their technology, improving their marketing abilities and so forth, through their social media marketing, search engine optimization, and website design. It was proposed by one of the members of the group that what we might do is have a $1,000 grant, if you will, for businesses located in Citrus County, licensed in Citrus County, that we could pay a website designer based in Citrus County and licensed in Citrus County to assist them in design and building of their website. And whether that be an individual grant process or simply through the use of those people at the Core Business Center serving as consultants, I don't think it matters. What we want to do is help the small businesses who don't have a web presence, who don't have social media marketing, don't have the technological abilities to improve on what they're doing, to use those resources available to help them do that and help them be more successful. It's a hand up, not a handout.
Well, that depends on whose definition you're looking at. I mean, I've never been a big fan of this whole program, and one of the reasons is what is it, 2.5 years ago, we said, this is an emergency. Money's got to go out immediately. It's got to get out to the community. And what's happening now is that we haven't been able to get through all this money, and now we're looking for ways to spend it. To me, the things that you're talking about are things that viable businesses should be doing anyway. It shouldn't be whether they succeed or not based on if they get $1,000 for somebody to help them design a web page. I don't think that's government's job. It never has been. I lost on this vote the first time around, but to me, this is the kind of thing that we gave money out to the food banks, it was used. We gave money to the YMCA, it was used. Now we're getting into, well, we haven't used it all, so let's move it around and find a way to spend it. I've never been in favor of this for that reason. This is definitely mission creep of any kind of government program, but this CORE's money has to be the worst. So I'd like to see it come back in and get out to where it can be spent immediately and get it over with. That's my opinion. So,
Mr. Chair?
yes, sir.
If we, and I understand where you're at, and I respect that, but I really don't want to see this come back into the county coffers. If there's a way that this money can be set aside to pay those vendors directly, if that's what has to happen to make this a legal use of the funds, I'd like to see us do that. I'm hearing very, very good things about what's happening at the Core Center, and if we've got these small mom and pop startup operations that are finding their way there, and something like helping them get a website or a greater presence on social media or something like that, where they need those services, but maybe don't necessarily have the funds for those services. I think this would be a great use of those funds. I'll tell you from personal experience, I think in large part why this $40,000 and some of these monies did not get used is we've got a problem getting people to go back to work at this point.
That's right.
And it's something we've talked about for years. There's an awful lot of folks that just are not applying for jobs. They're just not going back to work. And these folks are dealing with people who are not only trying to go back to work, but are trying to create a small business or grow a small business in our community. So I would support it. I fully respect your position, I understand. But I would support finding a way to do that, to pay for those services.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we move the $40,000 over to the Core Center to do the I wouldn't say grants, but to use the services to build the and pay them direct. And then what I would like to see is when we're getting close to that $40,000 being gone, come back with the results, and then we can look at giving you some more money. So I would make a motion that we move the $40,000 from the chamber to the Core Center
For educational endeavors.
For educational endeavors. That would be correct.
So is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay.
But it's business presence, web
So just so we're clear on this, according to the information in front of me, it says the county made an initial payment of $60,000 and a subsequent payment of $40,000, so that was $100,000 total. Now, of that, they're saying they have the $40,000 left over?
No.
Or they want another $40,000?
I believe that the $40,000 is money that they have left over from what they call the furlough workers program, but maybe they can clarify.
Is that not part of
We don't know at
that?
this point because we don't have a final accounting.
That is correct. Those are funds left over from the furlough rehire program. They worked closely with a lot of businesses. I was on the approval committee on that. It was a very successful program, but it was estimated originally a certain amount of money as an estimate only. The board, we very much appreciate their support in helping that program. As it turned out, we didn't need all of those funds, and therefore it's appropriate to return those funds to the county. We're asking that those funds be reallocated to the Core Business Center.
So they're kind of giving them back and then asking for them back again. And when you said successful, define successful. Of the $100,000, or say 60, because you're saying 40, it's coming back. So of the 60,000, what is?
The number of businesses that applied were very, very closely screened in terms of making sure there was no double dipping between the PPP and these funds as well. Some were rejected. Some had to reapply in order to qualify. These were all companies that could verify that they had rehired these people. They had been on board for the appropriate period of time, and they very much appreciated the support. Just as they have all of the action that the commission and the staff have done with the distribution of CARES funds. It's been a huge success in Citrus County.
Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner Carnahan, you had something?
No, we're good. We're good to go. I mean,
okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we have
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Oliver just said for education funds, but from what I heard execution funds. You're actually executing on creating things.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
We have to bring back a contract amendment so we can work out the language.
Okay.
But the contract will be for an increase in the contract amount by $40,000 from one of them the board's asking for.
And I guess the only thing I'm asking for is I'd like to see a breakdown of how the $60,000 was spent. You know, I don't know many people that would go into their personal checking accounts and write a check for $60,000 and then say, okay, here's going to be another 40. And it just seems to be that there seems to be some conflict as far as we're trying to get workers rehired, but yet employers can't find workers. You know, so on one hand we have, you know, there's no workers out there to hire, and we're spending money for employers to rehire workers that are that don't want to work or whatever. So again, I'm not going to belabor it. I'm going to be on the losing end of this. I just think it's important for me to explain why I'm not going to support it.
Well, I think we're getting the monies mixed up here, okay? What happened is this board voted to do a 6-month endeavor on the Core Center, and we voted to give them, $60,000. We did 100, okay, but we're going to do 6 months first. So we give the 6 months, and that was the salaries and things like that to operate the Core Center, okay? And so then at 6 months, they come back and said, hey, let's do it for a year, and then that's when we allocated the other $40,000 to run the Core Center. So this money here is for the Chamber's furlough program, and it's going to be moved over to the Core Center for them to do educational or bring businesses in to do, you know, because here's what I'll say: everybody's not computer savvy, and I agree with and again, I totally agree, understand your position. I have no problem with that. But there's a lot of businesses out there that are successful going out and working, but they're not successful on a computer. So this program will bring those that are great with the computer, sit the business owners down, and what it does is it's going to put money in the businesses of the county for doing their work and doing their work well. So the two separate pots here, what we're talking about.
So we did give them 100,000.
We have given them 100,000, I think it goes through May 31st of my memory.
But that was to run the core center.
That is correct.
This is totally separate,
That
what
is
we're talking
correct.
about today.
And that's what I asked for. Is there a measurement of what that 100,000 has bought the taxpayers? That was my question. So it doesn't really matter because we're ready to vote.
All right.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I'd like to say that we did come before y'all and give an in-depth presentation of how that money was spent before we requested the second draw. And I just want to let you know, to clarify, that the chamber is simply the administrative manager of the project. We're not directly involved, we're just administering it. Y'all thought at the time it was better for us to hire the employee and all that. So we're doing the administration, and Randy has just sent us a memo asking us to coordinate with our CPA and executive board to give y'all all the documents as we're closing down the programs. The Shop Local program is now closed too. We're just waiting on any final invoices, and we knew we couldn't give them the money direct, so we suggested that they come here. So I'm not arguing with your position.
Sure.
We need conservative stewardship of our funds, but we have some really good business people. They know how to fix lawnmower engines, but they had no idea how to start a Facebook thing or something, and those are the types we're trying to help. So,
Well, let me make sure I clarify this right. The money that you all want will go to the chamber, because I don't think the core center is a legal entity unto itself.
That's right.
right. But
Okay.
so we handle all the funds, but the question was, we in no way could just give it to them without coming here first. And I'm assuming y'all just want us to leave that in our core line item budget to continue funding it and not return it to you.
That'll be up to
That's correct.
That would
this
probably create
group.
more.
Is that what your motion is?
That's be my motion, yeah.
and
Okay.
may I have one more?
Yes,
comment,
absolutely.
please?
You can have all you want.
So I may be able to add something valuable to this conversation, because in my role as a ad agency owner, I have dealt with a lot of global businesses as well as very small startups, probably not as small as what you're dealing with, but very small startups. And there is a turn time to prove. I'm going to first off say I am going to vote for this, but I'm also going to give some credence to what Commissioner Kitchen is saying, which I'm sure he's now shocked that I've just said that. But this should be an investment. You referred to, Mr. Wooten, as how it was spent. I would prefer that we use the term how it was invested, never spent, because marketing money should be an investment. It should never be a spend. And you want to see a return on the investment. So to my mind, when you're looking at nurturing small businesses, that's a year or two out before you really understand how successful you were. And I want to know, are they still viable businesses in a year or two? This isn't a 6-month proposition. This is more like a year or two. I do have concerns about getting too much in the weeds, or into the funding is a better way to put it, too much into the funding of small businesses starting. But on the other hand, I think that adds a lot to the vibrancy and the viability of our economic diversity in the county. So we need to make sure that we have KPIs in place. You need to be very careful who you invest websites for, et cetera, and, make it happen. Make us happy that we invested the money. So
We have confidence in the team, and it's an open door policy. And don't forget that Commissioner Carnahan sits on our board, and he's
Yes.
not known as handing out money.
A spendthrift, yeah.
So it vetted for him before we even come here. So
Yeah, I guess my final comment would be, I'm not disputing any of that. I'm not disputing, all of you guys are doing a wonderful job. My question is a policy decision. Should the United States taxpayers be funding lawnmower companies to become more efficient? Or should lawnmower companies be out there, if they provide a viable business, should they be creating a value on their own that can stand on their own without government support? I personally wouldn't have a problem with the $40,000 going to economic development. I know you guys are going to want to restructure that, and you're going to want more money for marketing for that, and hiring people for that. To me, that's what these kind of funds were for, if you're talking about economic development in a community. But that's all I'm saying. It's a policy thing. I think COVID money was one of the worst things that ever happened to our economy. We're seeing it now, and all we're doing now is finding ways of spending it, because we'd have to ask ourselves, if COVID didn't happen 2.5 years ago, would the county government still be funding this out of their own money? And I would have to say the answer is no. So only reason we're funding this is it's something to do with, federal tax dollars. So again, I know I'm going to lose on this, but I think it's important that it's not the issue of do we have good intentions. It's an issue of what are the results and why should we be doing it. So that's just my position. So thank you all very much.
I respect that, sir.
Sure.
But I will only add to that is we are looking for the money's here now. We're all looking for the highest and best use, and so we don't have an argument for me if they just flooded us with money and we all got to pay it back. So it's just a difference of opinion on this particular program.
Sure. Thank you very much.
All right.
And their direction to now would authorize us to get a contract and hopefully bring it back on the next agenda, because we need a formal contract amendment.
Okay.
Is that good? That's still all included in the motion, right? Just want to make sure we're all good with that.
We're all good.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Carnahan and a second by Commissioner Slaybaugh. Is there any public comment on this? Is there anyone who would like to speak to the motion?
Chair,
Yes.
can I request clarification of that motion, because you said it included the contract, but he only included moving the money?
Okay, so you want to restate?
Moving the money with the contract,
To come back to the board
correct.
Are you good with that?
for
Yes.
$40,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
good with that.
Commissioner Slaybaugh, you good with that second of that?
Yes,
Okay.
I do have a question about
Yes.
the contract.
Yes.
Is the contract going to delay this, how long will it delay?
Well, I mean, we'll just do an amendment to the current contract. Hopefully, it'll get to the next agenda. Depends a little bit how busy the county attorney is, but I think we can get it worked out.
Thank
It's
you.
going to be very simple.
Thank you.
All right.
I like that.
Simple's good.
Simple's good. Okay.
Bill low.
Is there any other board discussion on this? Okay, so on the motion to approve, modify the contract, bring it back at the next board meeting, and move the 40,000, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Nay. And we'll record Commissioner Davis's vote when she returns. So as of right now, it passes 3-1. Ready to move on to item E9, please?
As you were previously advised, we've gotten a request from 2 inland marinas, and we're seeking direction from you on charging for boat ramp fees for commercial businesses, and these commercial businesses would be limited to inland marinas, and we're proposing $300 annual pass for marinas in the county and $900 if they're out of county, and that maintains the same 3-to-1 ratio that you currently have on your annual passes between in-county and out-of-county. The reason that we want to be that restrictive is we don't know what else may come about. So we thought it would be very good to proceed cautiously. These cannot go into effect, however, until that ordinance is adopted by the board, which would mean that assuming we can get the changes made and request permission to advertise at the next meeting, then it would be the next meeting before the actual hearing would be heard, or the actual ordinance would be heard.
Okay, board, what'd you like to see done with this? They're asking for direction to modify the ordinance and I guess make the changes and come back.
And what are we going to charge that, like a business like that, what would we charge them per year?
$300 if they're in county, $900 out of county.
I don't have any issues with that.
Seems very reasonable to me.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with that.
Commissioner Kennard?
No, I'm going to support it for sure. I do have a question about, it's been discussed, I don't know if it can be part of this or if we have to put it on a future agenda, but when we talked about this launch fee, there was some pretty specific discussion about individuals that owned more than one boat and trailer, And the board, I felt at the time, was pretty clear that we wanted them to just pay for one annual pass so that they could launch either of their boats. That's not the case right now with the system that's set up. If somebody has two different boats, and there are a lot of people that have two different boats in the boating community, they've now got to have, because of the way it's set up, they've now got to have 2 annual passes. Or if they've got 3 vessels and trailers, they've got to have 3 annual passes. Is this a time when we can address that, like I said, or do we need to bring that back to the future?
I thought did we not have a report coming back on this that we talked
Yeah,
about?
we've had one person that has as many as 6 boats that they want to put on the same trailer. It's up to you all. If you all want to modify that on the ordinance, the software, I believe, can do it. That's not a particular problem, but it's really up to you all.
To me, it's simple. It's no different than going down the turnpike and getting your tag read, you know, on the SunPass, okay? You know, if you own 3 different boats or you own 2 trailers, those, you know, when I go tag trailers, they're in my name. And when it takes a picture, it should automatically identify you as the owner of the boat. And you should only have to pay, you know, one pass versus, you know, like SunPass, you don't have to go buy, you know, there's a pass in every vehicle, but if it takes it, you got one account.
But I would say, with all due respect, Commissioner Carnahan, there's one huge difference, and that is you're paid each time you use it. You're charged each time you use it. So the equivalent of the SunPass would be, you can use it on any vehicle you want, but every time you pull down, you're getting charged again.
Yeah.
But even now, okay, they have them where it just takes a picture of your license plate and it's just, they can send you a bill too every month.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you see what I'm saying, it's not like you get a SunPass and you pay them $25 a year for as many vehicles as you want to drive through.
I understand, but what I'm saying is the technology, they should have the technology when you pull in to read your tag and say, okay, that's Scott Carnahan's boat, or that's Commissioner Kitchen's boat. Oh, Commissioner Kitchen brought his other tag in, but it's still registered to him. Now, if the boat's registered to somebody else, then they're going to have to pay.
Yeah, I think what we're saying is I don't think there's a problem with it being issued to the person and reading it. I guess the question would be, is that if I have a tag and I have 45 friends, can I keep loaning that tag to my 45 friends and then keep going and using it, or does that tag only work on my vehicle?
If you get caught taking a license plate and put it on another trailer, that's a criminal offense. That's what I'm saying, reading the license plate.
Right.
And so the last thing I'm going to do is untake my license plate off and give it to somebody else.
No, but you could loan your vehicle to somebody.
But again, the trailer tag, are they taking a picture of the
It's
guy
taking a picture of both the trailer tag and the boat, and they have to line up.
Okay.
If you all want to make it so it's a trailer tag and ever how many boats they want, that's up to you all.
Well, I would like to, instead of deciding this on the fly, I would like to schedule it. I thought that's what we were going to do. I thought somewhere we had something listed in the future that we were going to get a report on how the collections were going, what bugs might have been in the system, what we need to get worked out, and then we were going to discuss, I know this was the one that came back this time about the commercial, because we wanted to do that right away, but then I thought there was going to be the bigger discussion about, are we charging enough? Are we not charging enough? Is the system working with the collector? And should it be multiple vehicles, or should it be one per vehicle? I know the way it's set up now, my recollection was that we knew it was a new program, we were going to keep tweaking it, you know, to find out what worked best. So it seems to me some of the board members are here and people would like multiple uses on one pass, or a movable pass, or however that would be done. Yes, sir.
Remember, we've only got 18 days worth of data so far.
Right.
And we will be starting issuing the citations tomorrow for people that used the boat ramp and didn't have the pass or pay the fee. So we will start doing that. You know, it's however you'll want to do it. If you want to do it before then, we can do it. If you want to wait, my suggestion is going to be wait another 30 to 45 days till we have some track record, because you know, this was a good time to implement it because the boat ramps aren't heavily used. But you know, that
won't be the case come scallop season.
That's right, and that's why we want to get the kinks worked out before then.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Kennard.
Yeah, I think we got much too complicated too quickly. You know, there is going to be that exception out there where somebody has 6 boats, and they're somehow or another moving each of those 6 boats onto the same trailer. Maybe they're using a different vehicle. That is way out there. That is the exception. What we've got are a large number of people who have 2 different boats or maybe 3 different boats. I think that covers probably 99% of the boat owners that we're talking about. Each of those boats sits on a different trailer. Those trailers will be registered to that individual, and the vehicle pulling it, in most cases, are going to be registered to that individual. So if Randy's telling us that the software is capable of reading the boat number and matching it up to the tag on the trailer, and if it's registered to the person who has purchased an annual pass, it's not a movable permit that they could hand off to their buddy or something like that. That boat and that trailer have to be registered to that individual, and if they are, when they're buying their annual pass, they can list those 2 in there. So they're using one pass to launch either their deep water boat or their shallow water boat, or, whatever, as long as they've got all of that stuff registered when they buy their one annual pass. I think that covers, I don't think we hear any more about this, I've got multiple boats. Now, somebody's going to come up and say, I've got 35, and the software only allows me to register 4. Can you allow me to register all 35? But I think handling the ability to handle 2 or 3 vessels owned by the same individual with the same, a matching trailer under each one, I think handles the majority of our issues.
Agree with that.
If you're going to do it, my suggestion is you make it a specific number.
That's what I wrote down. What would be your maximum number?
3.
3, okay. Funny, I just wrote max 3. How about that?
Perfect.
I'm good with that.
Did you have a comment?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
We're talking about 2 different things, kind of, in a way. We're talking about the $300 to $900 for county and out of county, and I'm good with that. I think that's great. I just wanted, on your item, I get confused each time you talk about it, and I shouldn't say I get confused. I wonder if we're doing a fee for launching a boat, or are we doing a fee for parking your trailer?
Launching.
It's launch fee.
Okay. Because then that would lean towards more what Commissioner Carnahan is saying, the tag on the trailer, where if it's about the parking, that would be a lanyard, in a truck. So I just want to put that out there, that I think it needs to be
the way these
clear.
kind of, I'm sorry, have you finished?
And thank you.
Okay. I think they kind of overlap, because first of all, we haven't voted on the 300, 900, but it seemed like that was a done deal. We'll come back and do that, because we haven't even got a motion on the floor for that. But I think Commissioner Kennard brought up this, I think it's germane because it says modify the ordinance. So if we modify the ordinance for the 3 or 600, or 3 or 900, would this not be a good time to modify the ordinance
Absolutely.
for multiple boats?
I agree 100%. Let's do it one time.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking, if I'm reading what everybody's saying here, commissioners, tell me if I'm saying this correctly, up to 3 boats maximum, and the vehicle tag is got to be in the person's name, okay? And that's the way we determine it, right?
The boat tag and the vehicle tag must cohort with the owner.
Right, so the
Must be
computer
registered.
reads it and says, this is one of the 3 I have in my memory that says they're allowed to use it. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
We're all on the same page with that?
Okay, so we're going to ask for title and registration then, or registration for the boat and registration for the trailer, and the 2 names have to be the same.
That's
Well,
my understanding. so.
What if, I don't know, I agree with the trailer, but not the vehicle?
Well, the trailer's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trailer will be named.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be in a potential situation where you have one person who's enterprising who runs a valet boat delays service, because parking's a premium anyway. I would be running a service where I'm taking 30 or 40 boats down a day and then coming.
Well, let's do this. Why don't we stick with the 3 boats, or the 3 trailers, and we'll just monitor it like we do everything else, and we'll see how it flies, okay?
Fine.
That's fine. We will try to get that on the next meeting. It may be the second meeting in February.
Okay, so hold on a second here while you're getting
Here's the
information.
brains of the outfit.
Okay, so Just a second here. So, Commissioner Davis.
As soon as he, it's a point of clarification
Okay,
question. for
okay.
everybody.
Okay. Let's make sure we all have clarity here before we move on. While we're waiting, Commissioner Davis, how did you vote on item EA, chamber request for additional funding? You vote aye, so clerk, can you record that? So that was 4-1 on that vote.
Mr. Oliver, I have a clarification question on this. If the reader is reading both the vehicle and the boat tag, or excuse me, the trailer and the boat tag, and you register, you have 3 boats, but maybe you only have 1 or 2 trailers because you keep some in the water, you live on the water, can they mix and match?
That's going to get pretty complicated.
No, I'm just saying, does the computer just automatically say, okay, the boat's registered in this person's name, the trailer's registered in this person's name? and
No,
they're
it's
good
going to
go?
match it to the trailer and to the boat.
So they have to go linked?
Mhm.
And can you put 2 boats on 1 trailer? Linked?
Yeah, I think we can work that out.
That's what I'm trying to say, is that sometimes people.
But I can't have it so that the boat flip-flops back and forth. But I don't think that's a big issue.
And I agree with.
Just 1 second, Commissioner Davis still has the floor, so let
Well,
her finish.
these 2 gentlemen, at least, I believe, put boats in a lot more often. It's been a long time since I've worked at the ramp, so.
Well, what I was going to say
I
is.
cede the floor. I cede the floor.
Okay, Commissioner Carnahan.
What I was going to say is most boats today, and that trailer's built to that boat. You know, it's not like the older day. So I would say you'd have very, very little of that. So, yes, I think we have very, very
Yeah, it's
little of that. Yeah.
my experience with that is decades old at this point.
But back, yeah, right. I got you.
So my point now today is to, on item E9, if we have a motion, what I'm trying to clarify, we haven't a motion yet, but included with the 300, 900 for commercial, do you want this revised ordinance to also deal with the multiple tags? Can we do all that one time and have it come back at one time and do
We
that?
can, I just don't know that we'll make the first meeting. It's probably going to be the second meeting in February.
Okay. What do we think about that? Whereas if we do can we pass the commercial one today and that gets done and then we modify it later?
I would recommend you do them both together. I just think it's easier.
Okay, what do you think, Madam Attorney?
It's also less expensive because every time you
Advertise it.
change the code, the service charges us.
Okay, so let's do that then, if it's okay with everybody, is we'll direct staff to modify the ordinance and resolution and bring it back as soon as possible. Is that what we're going to do? And you know what the modifications are, right? 300 and 900, and then the multiple boats up to 3. So we need a motion and a second to do that.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion, but I do want to make another comment.
Yes, sir. As soon as I get somebody second, you reckon. Okay, so Commissioner Davis makes the second, and Commissioner Kennard, you go right ahead.
Yeah, we've still got 2 inland marinas that are launching from, I've had conversations with one of them, that are launching sometimes as many as 5 or 6, 7 boats a day, customer boats after they've been repaired or sea trials, things like that. And as it stands right now, they're paying a launch fee for each one of those boats every single day. And they're saying this, we're not opposed to the launch fee, or, they like the idea of the commercial pass coming available. But in the meantime, is there anything we can do about these 6 or 7 fees we're paying a day? Because now we're talking about, potentially another month before that. And it's just an overlooked thing that we didn't see coming. I wish that the vendor, since they've been in this business, would have said, what do you want to do about your commercial entities? So I do blame the vendor a bit for that, for not pointing out what could be an overlooked item. But is there any relief for these 2 vendors who have brought it to our attention?
Could they not, could they not just use a same pass that everybody else in Citrus County uses?
They would have to buy a pass for each one, because the boat and the trailer are registered.
They're taking the customer's trailer too, not just the customer's boat. Okay, okay.
Oh, wait a minute, you just threw another complication in there. Are they taking the customer's boat, or are they taking their trailer? That's a big complication.
Whoa, let's back up.
Yes.
Commissioner Kennard, do you still have the floor?
Yes.
Okay.
If they're taking a customer's boat to launch it, they've repaired it, it is the customer's boat in 99% of the cases, nearly 100%. It's the customer's boat and the customer's trailer. So they won't have a pass on that boat and trailer. Now, if they're taking a customer, potential customer on a sea trial, then they're taking a boat that probably isn't registered at all at that point, or it's still owned by the marina, and a trailer that's owned by the marina and launching it. So there won't be a pass on that one either. So the position they're forced into right now is paying the day launch fee of $10 for each one of those launches that they do every day.
Okay, Mr. Oliver.
Yeah, if they're using different trailers on different boats, that's going to be problematic. Also, in fairness to the vendor, they primarily did parking, to my knowledge. They've never done anything quite like this, but they were willing to adapt to it. So they don't know that, but I thought that the marina used their trailer and took the boat out there on that. If they're using different trailers every time, this has just gotten exponentially more complicated.
And my thought would be, and then Commissioner Carhan, you get the next word, is the cost of doing business. I mean, the guy just spent probably $1,000 to have his boat worked on, $10 of it's going to be to launch it and test it. I mean, that's my feeling, is that's what happens with any fee. A business passes it on to the customer. So that's my thought about how you get over that in the interim. But even, as Randy said, if that's the case, that won't address the long-term thing. Did you have something to add to what he said? Okay, Commissioner Carhan.
I agree totally with Commissioner Kennard. If I'm Homosexuality Marine, Apopka Marine, and we go on down, and if I take my boat to them, it's their responsibility to say, yes, fix it, and they take it and run it. I mean, Gulf Coast Marine, they take them and put them in and run them. And we've got to give relief to that. We've got to figure out a way to help these businesses. And is it the cost of doing business?
No, it costs the customer.
Again, I don't agree with that, because again, these businesses are invested in our community, and they're paying us good taxes here, and they're bringing a lot of money in. So I think we got to figure out something. We do.
Okay, Commissioner Slabaugh?
I would have to agree with Commissioner Chair Kitchen, because if there's an additional fee that's imposed in the next 2 months that it takes to get through this, that would be given back to the client, not the business. And that is just an additional fee. Say it's going to, when we go to test this, there's an additional $10 fee. Pretty easy. Most people aren't going to complain. And thank you, I received the floor.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
I agree, and I would also say that most of the repairs being done within county boats anyway. I mean, are you bringing your boat to Apopka Marine from Hernando or Levy or, most of them are going to be Citrus County, therefore, most of them should probably end up with an annual pass already on their trailer and boat, and if not, then maybe they want to get one if it's going to require multiple trials to fix something that's really difficult, and otherwise, it's just an additional $5 because they're in resident. They are a local resident, so, right, isn't it 5 or is it 10 for everybody? It's 10 for everybody?
It's
Daily.
Daily is 10 for both?
10's daily.
Okay, for both, in and out, yeah. So, to my mind, like you said, if you have $1,000 bill to fix a boat, $10 is not, out of hand for that, so. Because it doesn't sound like it's technologically easy to do. If we had a SunPass kind of situation, to your point, we could do something different for this, but it's really just not technologically able to do it.
Okay, so at least the first part, E9, was easy. The modification to it was a little trickier. So what are we hearing here?
Mr. Chair? Yeah. I'll chime in.
Okay.
Commissioner Davis, great point. Yeah. Great point that the majority of those repaired boats are going to be in-county boats, and that might be an opportunity for the marina to say, before we get started here, do you have an annual pass? If not, you should probably do that, or there's going to be a $10 fee at the end of this for the launch of us testing this. That $10 covers half of your annual pass. Go online and buy one now. But anyway, I'm fine with moving forward with the 300 and 900. I would like to see us get back in front of us as quickly as possible the ability for one owner of up to 3 vessels with matching trailers to have them be able to launch any of those 3 vessels under one pass.
So just to clarify now, just want to make sure for the clerk over here, the 300 and the 900 we've discussed. What we then said is we want the administrator to bring back both these issues at the same time so we deal with it once, and that would be dealing with the maximum up to 3 boats. Is that where we're at? So you're willing to wait on the 300, 900 in the interim until we get it all back in front of us? It's your call. I mean, we can do the 300, 900, but then when you say as soon as possible, it might be, a little bit
It's
down
going to
the
be the second meeting in February, I can tell you that.
Okay.
And that will
Just-
be advertising the changes to the ordinance, and then the next meeting would be the adoption of the ordinance.
Okay, so, does that answer your question? You're the one who made the motion, so I need to make sure you're comfortable with what's going on.
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
I think I would like to see, I'd like to see us go ahead and handle the 300, 900. That was overlooked on our part. And again, I would throw it back out there that I think this is something the vendor should have brought to us.
So you want to keep it separately? So your motion as of right now is just to approve E9?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that your second, Commissioner Davis?
I actually have a comment first
Okay.
before we go there.
And then Commissioner Carr, I didn't forget about you.
To Madam Attorney's comment that it is less expensive and also certainly more efficient on our time to handle this all at once, I am going to possibly go Rangers field to tread and say, can they turn in receipts for the $10 per launch until we get this enacted and have that be a credit towards the 300?
I thought you just said they're going to charge that to the customers, and that was no
No,
big
this
deal.
is for sea trials when they're.
Well, then that's when they should go buy the pass, right?
That's what I'm trying to say, is that the 300 and 600 is, or 900 is for sea trials, is it not?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's
Okay.
get this straight. It's for sea
Okay.
trials for selling boats on their trailers, all right?
Okay.
And if they are out there showing their boats constantly at $10 a pop, I get the point, okay? So if this is indeed a problem that we need to fix with the 300 and the 900, okay, so for commercial launches, can we legally allow them to turn in their receipts for $10 per ramp launch for the period starting January 1 until this is enacted, and have that be credited towards their $300 commercial pass?
Does anybody want to jump on that answer?
Yeah, let me jump in real
Okay,
quick.
you got it.
Why are we even going down the path of 300 and 900 if you're going to make them, telling them pretty much, because very seldom are they if they're taking a boat to sea trial, the marine's going to go buy an annual pass anyway, okay? But if they're taking the customer's boat and we're saying it's on them, why are we even going down this road? If that's the case, okay? If the customer either has a pass or he doesn't have a pass, or they're getting $10 at the end, or they're not getting $10 at the end, but we're just wasting our time talking about $300, $900, if that's what we're gonna do. Because again, if I'm a Homosexuality Marine or whatever, and I'm gonna do sea trials, I'm just gonna go buy the pass, because when I go to the boat ramp, it's gonna be registered to me. It's Homosexuality Marine, so they're not gonna get charged 6 or 7 times a day. But if it's a customer's boat, they're going to get charged, and then the customer at the end is going to get charged, or he's going to have a pass. So there's no need to go to 300 or 900.
Actually, there is. There is. If you're selling that many boats a year, you wouldn't do $25 per boat. You would have an aggregate amount for all of your boats that year.
I can tell you this, that trailer is not registered yet, nor is that boat not registered yet.
Right.
So they're going to get the vehicles tag, and that's how you're going to get charged. So I don't think it don't make a difference.
Okay, Commissioner Kennard, you started this. Where do you want to go with it?
Well, that was gonna be my comment, is, the boat is, if this software is reading the numbers on the boat, these new boats don't have numbers on them at all.
They're not registered.
And the boat trailer, I assume, has a
Could have a dealer's tag.
A dealer tag.
A dealer tag on it.
But the dealer tag, the dealer can go buy a annual pass, and that tag's registered to them, so it's a $25 fee.
We can make it $300 on a dealer tag.
I don't
do
do that.
I don't think that's.
This ain't rocket scientists.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to break the bank at $300 a year on 2 or 3 dealers, you know, so. it's
Right.
just, So, all good points. Yes, ma'am?
It just seems to me that when the suggestion was made, the 300 or 900, staff wasn't thinking of the marinas bringing individual owners' boats and trailers. So I think that's I mean, they can correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems to be something that wasn't thought of before just now.
Correct.
I think they
So
were
the
thinking
300,
those-
900 thing, we didn't, I don't think staff understood.
That'd be
Okay.
more for a dealer tag kind of an issue, is what you were
Yes, so
thinking.
maybe if we just do the dealer tag,
Well, if it's on a dealer tag, I can do it.
it would be a dealer tag with a non-numbered
I can
boat.
take care of it on a dealer tag. I'm not worried about that. Where I get into problem is if they're hauling a trailer of a person they're repairing a boat, and it's on their trailer and their tag, it's going to come up, there's no way I'm going to be able to catch that.
Well, it sounds like if I'm a person and my trailer and my boat number match, but it just happens to be hauled by ABC Marina's truck, it seems like my boat and my trailer are going to not, I mean, I'm going to be covered. No?
No,
'Cause they're
there's
still
no
gonna-
way of knowing that, because if you got a dealer tag, we're photoing the tag, okay, I can set that up on the 300, that's easy. But when, whether Apopka Marina in one of their, trucks that is marked, for example, pulls it in, or whether it's, somebody from the public that pulls the trailer in, is looking to the trailer and the boat, and there's no way I'm going to know that it's being pulled by a dealer.
That's the
Who
point, the
cares what the
tags.
truck is?
Yeah, who cares what the truck is?
That, I don't, but I do on the, here's what I understand. The dealer, if they've got dealer tags on it, a boat with no registration, I can handle that, that's easy. Okay, but they fix a citizen's boat, and they take it in on their trailer with a license tag registered to that boat owner, and the boat registered to that boat owner, there's no way I can know it's a dealer.
Well, we won't. Then it'll be up to is what we're saying, I think, is, we're all saying the same thing, we just need to be clear about it. So, you want to try to encapsulate this, you want me to take a shot at it?
Go ahead and I'll listen.
Okay, what I'm hearing, okay, and we want to make sure we get this for the clerk, but what I'm hearing is that when we talk about item E9 for a commercial business, we're talking about what we would the equivalent of a dealer tag on their marine trailer.
I'm good
Okay,
with that.
so they have their company tag on their company trailer that we treat as a dealer tag, and they pay $300 or $900 a year for that.
Fine with that.
Okay, that means if they take an unregistered boat that they're sea trying, okay, or doing a sea trial on, and they take it in, they're covered under that. If they hook up to my boat and pull it in, it's going to be on my trailer with
Your
my
tag.
tags on the trailer, and if I have a county permit, it goes through. If I don't have a county permit, the charge
Simple.
goes, they have to charge me, as you said, then they should inform the people they need to get a tag. I mean,
That works.
That sounds to me what
Yeah,
we're all
it's
saying.
simple.
Is that what we're all saying in a different way? Like, we
I
kinda
think
get
so.
there.
And again, I don't believe, this is my opinion, okay, that we either need to go down to 3 or the 900, okay, because when you have these businesses in the county, they're already paying plenty of taxes, okay, and it's not going to break us, okay, so they should be able to go down, buy a pass, okay, and register the tags. I mean, they only have a few tags anyway, they're just moving them to trailer to get them to the boat ramp. So it's not like they got a ton of tags, but so I don't agree with the 3 or the 900, and I won't vote for it. I think we just
Okay.
need to move forward on what we have in place.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So if I'm understanding Commissioner Carnahan, he's saying that a Marine can just get the same local pass for the
Correct.
dealer tag?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what you're proposing.
Yeah, that's what I would do, and just be done with it.
Okay, so
Because
if that's the case, we don't even need to, if that's stuck, and I'm running this back by the motion makers here, if that's stuck, we don't need the 300 and 900 because a commercial enterprise would pay for their tag just like a local resident does.
So, may I?
Yes, ma'am. Let me get his answer.
So they would buy they would buy an annual pass and they would register their dealer trailer tags under that annual pass.
Correct.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, and then anything else falls to the owner. Yes,
Correct.
I was going to say, I'm absolutely fine with that, because I don't want to try to get $300 out of them. But if they have, say, for example, 3 dealer tags, because that's what they need, and it's $25 a tag, so be it. However, one point of clarification, just one more time, okay, to make sure, if you have a untagged boat, can we specify that it is okay that there's an untagged boat if it is combined with a dealer tag?
If it's a dealer tag, I can handle it.
Okay.
And it would be,
Then we're done.
so what I'm hearing you all saying, if it's in county, it'll be $25 even if they're a dealer.
Yep.
And if it's out of county, it's $75 even if they're a dealer, if they got dealer tags.
Yeah.
And this is for marinas.
Boat dealers or anybody. I mean,
How many out of county?
I
None.
can't answer that.
I would
That's
say
why
none.
I recommend you be very careful on how the language is
Yes.
parsed.
again, I would be very simple. Let's just move forward here. But there's no sense of going to the 300 or 900. We're just beating our heads on the wall now.
Well, we need to come back now because the original motion was made by Commissioner Kennard, so we'll have to get his feedback. But I just want to make sure before we continue on, we're all at least talking the same thing here. Sounds to me we're talking, doesn't matter if you're a business. My only question is why would you not treat a in-county business or an out-of-county business the same way you treat a resident or a non-resident? Non-residents pay more, so why wouldn't you treat an out-of-county business to the same rate?
You would.
We would.
You would.
That's my point.
Right. But here's what I can tell you. If I'm in Hernando County, I'm not driving all the way here to Citrus County to run a boat. You're going to run it at the nearest boat ramp. And whether that's the lake or, wherever that is. Marion County, they're going to the lake or they're going to a river and run it. They're not coming to Citrus County to put it in. So you're not going to have that problem.
Okay, and Commissioner Schlebaugh.
What is before us? What is before us is really regarding marinas. And by dismissing this, we are allowing commercial boat people to come into the county and do 2 trips a day and make thousands and thousands of dollars a day and only pay $75, if that's what I'm understanding you're saying.
You've now moved on to tours,
Now
tour operators,
But
fishing operators.
you're taking out what is on the agenda. It is for marinas, as far as I understood it.
It was geared towards marinas with the original language.
Well, it said the inland marinas, which is a boatyard, it was at their request. So we'll just need to come back. We'll need to verify that the original intent of this commercial issue is being dealt with. Okay, Commissioner Kennard, we're going to try to wrap this up and get everybody on the same table here. We have never had so much discussion about something that generates so little income so far, right? Okay, so since you made the original motion, I'm going to let you restate it the way you see it, and we'll see if Commissioner Davis agrees, and then we'll be able to go. Okay?
Well, I'm going to rescind my motion because I think it's now become evident that 300, 900 is not necessary. We're going to ask staff to bring back to us the ability for one pass holder to register up to 3 vessels and unique trailers to their name under that pass. Businesses can do the same, up to 3 of their commercial tags. And so when they're putting in, regardless of which vehicle it is, when they're putting in an unregistered boat that has one of their commercial tags on the trailer, it's going to ding their annual pass, and they're clear. They can get the same price on their annual pass for $25 as an out-of-town business can for the $75.
Yep.
Okay, so if I read this, and he withdrew his motion, so I guess there is no, you don't have a problem with throwing a second since. Okay, so what we have now is no action at this meeting, right? What we're doing is asking the staff to come back with the ordinance tweak to the language we just talked about, right?
Correct.
That's where we are. Now, Mr. Oliver, since you get to go back with the attorney and draft what we just talked about, tell us what you heard us say.
I've heard you say that you want to treat marinas with their tags or dealer tags so that they can buy the same annual pass that any citizen in the county can get at $25, and out of county people that are situated the same way, it's $75.
That was my understanding. Anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
Madam Clerk, do you have that?
Yes, basically it was rescinded, and I did not hear the second rescind.
Yes, she.
Okay, I didn't hear her
Is that your
verbalize it.
new
Okay.
motion, which you've just stated, we've all agreed to?
And then it was just consensus of the board at that point.
Right. So there is no motion, right? That's what I said, there's no board action today other than direct staff to bring that ordinance back per our consensus, right? So when it comes back, we're all going to be in agreement now when it comes back, because we had this discussion to know what's going to
Well,
be.
I'm not in agreement with the $75 for out-of-county, but I'm not in the majority, so.
Well, with the concept, it's the dollar amount you're not good with.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We can fight about the dollar amount at the ordinance hearing.
I just want to make sure that it is, that Randy understands that we want it back here, the second meeting in February, to be able to register up to 3 boats and unique trailers to one individual under their pass.
That's my understanding, right?
Or business.
Yep. And actually, well, I won't even go into that.
You're not going to be able to do that, you're not going to be able to do that on businesses, because Apopka Marine, for example, could be, they could take multiple boats in, but if it's a dealer, I can handle the dealer separately. I know how to handle it.
Right.
Huh? Yeah,
All right,
they are a deal.
Okay. All right, so at least we know where we're going with this, so we don't need to deal with item E9 as agended, because we're treating everybody the same, basically. That's it. Okay, and I like Commissioner Kennard's idea about having whoever it is selling the boat or sea trialing it, And I was just going to say, since we're not voting on it, let me throw 2 more wrinkles in at you. If it's a documented vessel, it doesn't have to have hull numbers. So a vessel can show up.
They're not trailer them.
Well, very few documented vessels could you trailer, but there are exceptions to that. So anyway, so we're going to now move on to item F, I believe.
Yes, item F, we'd ask that 9, 10, and 12 be deleted.
Make a motion, we accept item F with deletions of 9, 10, and 12.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Carnahan, a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public comment? Is there any further board discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Item G1, please.
Yes, I sent out an addendum one this morning, but let me tell you what we've got. We've got the meeting scheduled for the workshops you asked for at the retreat on February the 8th. We have a special meeting as it relates to the labor contract with the Teamsters at 9. On that same day, we have economic development, reassess approach to economic development at 10. On 2/22, we have impact fees, to revisit impact fees, and I think that will be very short, frankly. It's really a question, either you will or you won't. But that was what was asked for. On March the 8th, we have attainable housing, increase attainable workforce housing. I think Commissioner Slabaugh may have something she wants to add to that. Is that correct?
Yes, the accessory dwelling units.
Okay.
Is that agreeable with everybody?
I would think that includes attainable housing. I mean,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Any disagreement with that? Okay, continue on.
Okay. 322 would be infrastructure, invest in infrastructure as it relates to incentives for growth and development. April 12th would be communications, consider the communications strategy, and April 26th is going to be residential road resurfacing, specifically how to fund that program. And May the 10th then, at 9 o'clock, would be airports and infrastructure, and to discuss those.
The only
So with that, we'd ask to set those dates.
Well, the only question I had is from the original publication of this to the revised one, April 12th went from using debt reduction to fund capital to communications. What happened to using debt reduction to fund and then we also had on there landfill planning, resiliency. So these were the what I call below the line items, which means they don't have to have priority, but it seems they've dropped off the list entirely.
We can add them back at a subsequent date. We can continue the dates on.
So again, as long as they're all on there, I don't know that these
Okay,
others are.
you mentioned debt reduction.
Well, the original one said after, well, I can refer you back to the original publication.
Yeah, I can look it up.
But the first one said special meetings, structure and strategy, infrastructure, funding for road resurfaces, workshop on airports on the 22nd. That has been now moved to the 10th. But what was dropped was using debt reduction to fund capital, landfill planning, I don't see that on here, resiliency, that's not on the new one, and succession planning, new commissioner training, that type of thing.
Okay, if it's okay with the board, I will add those workshops and schedule it on out, if that's okay.
Yeah, just keep them running. So.
Sure.
Good. Okay, very good. So you're asking for approval on this adjusted list, right? Okay.
Second.
So Commissioner Kennard makes the motion, and second by Commissioner Carnahan
That's
makes the
fine,
motion. Get my K's and C's
That's all
mixed
right.
up here,
We can take it either way.
That's all right. I have it as Commissioner Carnahan made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Kennard. And we'll go ahead and vote. We'll get Commissioner Slabaugh when she returns. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And that passes 4-1 so far. 4-0 so far. And, I'm sorry, did you have a comment?
Were we supposed to take a vote on H1? Or no? Approve and adopt? The
I thought it was-
investment strategy?
H1 was a,
I thought it was just a presentation.
It was just a presentation.
So it says approve and adopt, so I was just,
She didn't ask for a particular.
No, she didn't, and you've made no changes in the policy, so at best you would be reaffirming the policy.
That's why I thought you said, is there anything you want to change or you don't like about what we're doing? But, yeah, I mean,
Just
we
making
can,
sure.
we can check with her. I mean, usually if
just
she
making
wants
sure.
something voted on, she'll tell us. Commissioner Slabaugh, we said was between the two published list of the workshops, the ones that were dropped off, the last one we're adding back below the line. So, and we voted 4-0 to approve the special meeting workshop dates. So how do you vote on that?
Aye.
Okay. So it's 5-0.
all right.
All right, now, we have a G2.
Yeah, G2 and G3 are just the ratification of my signature on the forms that are required by the House as it relates to the bills that were filed on our behalf that will hopefully bring back funding to the county. You have to make certain certifications to the legislature that you aren't doing anything unethical.
Do you need separate motions, or can we do them both with?
You can do them both together.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Approval of G2 and G3.
Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Carnahan makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment? Any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Let's see, now we are up to item I1.
Yes, nominate and appoint 5 positions for membership on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee that will become available on January 31st, 2022 as follows: 1 real estate professional, 1 low-income advocate, 1 local planning agency representative, 1 not-for-profit provider of affordable housing representative, and 1 citizen of the local jurisdiction.
So we have 5 positions open and 5 people applying, is that correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve Kathy Anderson Moore, Kim Farrar, Brian Herman, Melissa Walker, and Barbara Wheeler.
Second.
Melissa Wheeler.
Melissa Wheeler.
All right.
Second.
Okay, which one do you want? Wheeler or Walker?
I don't know, it says Wheeler on this.
Let's go with Wheeler.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Kennard, second by Commissioner, did I hear Carnahan say the second, or was that, okay. Okay, so is any public comment? Any further board discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That passes unanimously. I-2, please.
Yes, I-2, the TDC under state law has some specific criteria. Part of the members have to be collectors of the tax. So the first part of this is Michael Menke and Dr. Desai are both collectors of the tax, and we would seek their reappointment. They're currently members for a 4-year term beginning January 31st, 22, and ending January 31st of 26. And then we have to have one citizen member who demonstrates an interest in tourism to a 4-year term beginning January 31st of 22 through January 31st of 26.
So we have 2 for the 2 positions and 3 for 1 position, right?
Yes.
What's the board's pleasure with the interest in tourism?
Okay.
Yes,
I would
Ms.
like I like the idea of Kathy Turner Thompson being on the board for the interest in tourism category.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so, let's see, so, let me get this straight here, and there. So the motion is, we'll do this one first, then for the applicant of interest in tourism category, the motion is for Kathy Turner Thompson. That was made by Commissioner Schleybaugh and second by Commissioner Kennard. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sir.
Is there any public comment? Any further board discussion? I would, yes, ma'am.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I hope you send your best regards to Michael Ingalls, who served on the board, and currently is serving on the board, and he's done a fabulous job for the last 4 years. So rather than just not renewing him, I think a word of thanks ought to go out to him for his time on the TDC.
Which is exactly what I was about to do.
Okay.
So I'm really torn on this one. I like Mike quite a bit. I think he is a valuable addition to the board. On the other hand, fresh blood when somebody is really has an established reputation in the county is not a bad thing, and Ms. Thompson is obviously, quite qualified and very committed to the county with her background and so forth. So I'm torn. I'm very torn because he's done a really good job. So what would you think as the outgoing, as the
I would say we
immediate
have a
past chair?
motion and a second for one. If you want to, we can vote on that, or we can take multiple nominees and do it that way, whatever the board prefers,
I'm
so-
comfortable moving forward with her. I just,
Okay.
I was actually asking your opinion. So that's all.
Well, my opinion is, and I know what you said about new blood, but if you look how long some of these people have been on the TGC, old blood in some of these cases are pretty good.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just saying if somebody is equally qualified, sometimes there should be
It's clearly
some
the board's
turnover.
prerogative. My policy has always been, I don't think I've ever voted against a nominee that the board has made. And again, I didn't make a nomination, so I'll let you.
Well, Chair,
Yeah.
If you would like me to take it back, I just saw this, they were, whatever you want me to
I'm very
do. I don't sit on that board, I don't,
And the third candidate, I don't know personally, so it's hard to, but either of those I'm fine with.
I
so-
didn't look at it as something personal, I looked at it as something exciting and new, and I saw the 4 years had already been there, but,
The only reason, and again, I'm not I know Mr. Ingalls has done a great job and his feelings won't be hurt. I just want to be known that he has done an exceptional job, taking away time from his business that he does run. And that's the other thing to keep in mind. I think most everybody on this board leaves their businesses to come to this board and conduct business. So, I just take that kind of thing very seriously. So just again, just if the board's free to adopt and add anybody they want, but I just think part of that should be a thank you very much, Michael Ingalls, for your
Absolutely.
work. So,
I'm comfortable.
Thank you.
okay, so the motion is for the applicant for demonstrates interest tourist for Kathy Turner Thompson. And we've already asked for citizen input, so with, is there any further board discussion? Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm going to make it a little more interesting and rescind my second.
Ooh, okay. Now it is, okay.
Then I'll rescind my motion.
All right, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
You
can
got
I-
me thinking about
It's up to
this.
you. I would just say this, if you want to do it this way, we can nominate people and then vote on the nominees, but Commissioner Carnahan, you have the floor.
Mike Ingles, I nominate Mike Ingles.
Okay, so that's a motion.
I agree
for
with 100% with
Mike
what he's done a
Ingles.
great job. He continues to do a great job, nothing against anybody else, but I think that that board is running extremely smooth. Y'all have made tremendous strides, and I think that he needs to stay there.
Okay, so we have a motion for Michael Ingles now. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay.
Lord, we're making this challenge.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's good, because remember last time, we had a debate about the TDC. Used to be nobody wanted to serve on our boards, and now we have
We're
multiple.
blessed with great candidates.
Oh, I know, we have multiple candidates, so. Okay, which I will remind you all of this, just so you know. One of the things I have them do at the TDC is keep meticulous attendance records so that we know who shows up to meetings and who doesn't, okay? Because I don't think it's fair when people are, vying for these positions that somebody gets on there and then doesn't show up for the meeting. So with that said, let's try it again. Now we have a motion by Commissioner Carnahan and second by Commissioner Kennard for Michael Ingles. And is there any public comment on that? Yes, sir.
John Labriola, Inverness. I had a question on the procedure here because from my recollection from back in November, when the Library Advisory Board was on the table and nominations were put forward, the discussion that I heard from either the attorney or the board was that those positions are essentially ongoing unless a member resigns. But what I'm hearing now is that in this particular case with the Tourist Development Council, that position, the gentleman is interested in staying, but he had some competition apparently here. So on the website for the Library Advisory Board positions, it states on the website that there's like I believe it's 9. 4 or 5 are up in this month, at the end of this month. However, I don't see that particular issue on the agenda, but TDC is. So can we get some clarification on why one is treated differently than the other? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, can anybody over there answer that?
I can't answer, but my guess is they'll come to the next meeting. But
I can't answer either. I wasn't prepared.
I'm trying to remember the discussion, I think what he might be referring to, there was a discussion about if somebody resigned, we didn't fill the position quickly enough, correct me if I'm wrong on this.
That is correct.
What happens, and I think the discussion was, that person's in there until their successor is appointed. I think that's maybe where that came from. And in this case, I always remember us advertising the spots, and the only time that nobody is appointed is if nobody applies, and then, I think that's where we went to in the end, did we not? Where it said, what if nobody applied for this position? Would Mike Ingles automatically be thrown off? Because he wasn't. Remember that happened with Darrell Seaton. He stayed on because nobody else applied, so.
If there is a vacancy that is not filled, the current member remains until it is filled.
Okay. So I think that clarifies that issue. And I don't know how
I mean, that's general, that's a general statement.
But probably all boards probably have their own particular things, and I don't know how the library board works, so.
I haven't reviewed the bylaws, but I mean, that's a general statement.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion for Michael Ingles. We have taken public comment. Board, any further discussion?
Does the motion need to reflect Michael Menke and Dr. Desai?
Well, we're going to do that as the next
Okay.
motion.
All right.
Okay? We dealt with the hard one first. So.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Now, on the applicants for owner-operator, we have 2, Dr. Desai and Michael Manatee. I believe somebody will make a motion.
Make a motion for Dr. Desai and Mr. Manatee.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Carnahan, second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public comment on that? Commissioners, any other discussion? We can talk about this for a half hour or so if you want.
No, thank you.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Let's cruise right along to committee reports.
The Library Advisory Board members are on the next agenda.
Next agenda, there you go.
Correct.
All right, very good. Okay, so committee reports. Commissioner Carnahan. anything
Well, I've had Gulf Coast Consortium Executive Board, and Commissioner Kennard will be happy that the inshore reefs are moving to the Gulf Coast Council. So
Good.
We actually got a full board meeting today at 5. So
Very good.
Very good. Is that it?
Yep.
Commissioner Slabaugh, any reports?
Nothing.
Okay, Commissioner Davis?
TDC meeting went fabulously, so I chaired my first one, and you handed off a very well-oiled machine, so I appreciate that.
Good group over there.
And I'll be chairing the session in legislature with Dana Young from Visit Florida tomorrow.
Okay.
Nothing.
Commissioner Kennard, nothing. Well, I'm sure something was going on.
I had one meeting scheduled, but it was canceled at the last minute.
Well, I was supposed to go to Tallahassee for the Florida Regional Council Association Policy Board meeting, and they changed that to virtual a week before. So instead of going to Tallahassee, I had to stay here and do it from here. It was interesting, and instead of going in, everything was talked about. The one highlight I always find is the legislative report from Ron Books. If anybody knows who Ron Books is, he's kind of like our Gene McGee for the many different groups. And he said he was at the speech the governor made, and he said, I forget how many years, 40-some years or whatever, he's been in this. And he said, I heard the governor say, the only governor I've ever heard say this ever in his speech, and he told people, if this is the year that if your legislators don't bring something home, you should talk to them. Because what he's saying is there's more money now than there's ever been and there's ever going to be. So if this is not the year you get what you're asking for, you should be finding out why. And he said he wasn't pointing a finger to anybody, he was just saying, and this is and he didn't say he wouldn't veto anything either, but that was his comment. He just thought that was amazing because he'd never heard the governor say that before. So, with that said, we'll move on. Commissioner Carnahan, do you have anything for us?
No, I don't. I was going to hold off until next month, but, I'm going to go ahead today and evidently there's some people scared I'm going to run again, okay, when they bring up buying a little bit of property in Georgia. So I will not be, I made this decision a long time ago, and the people that are close to me know what my decision was, and I have no intention of seeking re-election. I told my wife I'd do 8 years. I'm doing my 8 years, and I've got an opportunity in front of me that I'm going to run with. And so those that are scared that I'm going to be on the ballot, I'm not. So I'll go ahead and relieve them today of that. So, but again, I will not be seeking re-election. I had no intentions of seeking re-election, but I was going to wait until February. But I'll go ahead and tell them today so they can ease themselves. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, let's see. Anybody in the audience there? Oh, yeah, I was going to make an announcement. I decided to run again. No. No, I was just looking for the reaction. I'm sorry, I had to do that. No. I wish the best to all those running, and I have never.
I'm the same. I wish the best.
Best to everybody, and my wife is delighted that I'm not running again.
I've got a second grandchild coming, and and again, those that don't have grandchildren, when you have them, you'll understand. But I've got another one coming, and I'm going to spend all the time I can with those two children.
Daughter.
Huh?
Is it from the son?
My son. I'm gonna have a nice grandson coming in March, and we are going to continue to spoil him as much as we can, and then give him back.
Good for you. Good for you. All right. Let's see. Commissioner Kennard.
No, I have nothing. Thank you.
Nothing. You run for re-election? Oh, I guess it's a little early.
No, I'm not running this year either.
Okay. Commissioner Davis.
No, sir, I'm good.
Nothing for us today. Commissioner Slabaugh.
I won't be running for re-election this year.
This year, okay, all right. Well, you still have time to think about it. So. Okay, I have a couple items up here. First one is 01, a resolution for the United States Bike Route, US BR 15 in Citrus County. If you've read this is just also part of, being recognized as supporting this. FDOT supports it. It's part of the, we talked about the branding for the Coast to Coast Trail. This is one of those types of things. So I'd just be looking for approval of this resolution.
Chair, I move to approve this resolution. Okay. A, B, and C. Do I have to do that?
A, B, and C. Thank you very much.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Slabaugh and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public discussion, comment, any board comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. Next up is item 02, evaluation of the county administrator. We do this on an annual basis. I believe Randy was hired about the same time myself and Commissioner Carnahan was, and came in January. We traditionally do that. I think last year we did his review a little early because the commissioners that were leaving, I think Chairman Coleman and so on, asked to do it a little early since he was leaving. The other commissioners were, and the new commissioners hadn't worked with him for a short period. So anyway, that's the way for the last 7 years, we've done this the same, where we encourage everybody to meet with Randy, or the commissioners to meet with Randy, have their discussions with him privately. This is where we have to evaluate him publicly. I've done this way for 7 years. I'll do it again today. I'll throw it out there, let the commissioners react, and that is, I think that we should give Randy our highest possible recommendation. I think he has done, in the time that I've been in Citrus County, we've had other good administrators, but somebody that keeps his nose to the grindstone, saves the taxpayers countless millions of dollars, and is an advocate for the commissioners and for the community. I couldn't have higher regard for somebody that has his professional credentials, somebody that's an engineer and an accountant. So there's other things. Randy's not a schmoozer. Randy doesn't go out and go to cocktail parties and that type of thing. Instead, he's at home at 2 o'clock in the morning studying budgets and bonds and sending emails out. So I would like to see the board put a letter in his personnel file, as we've done for the last, I believe, 6 years now, that states that that we can draft and I can sign. It says we give him our highest approval rating, and part of that is to give him the same raise that we give all the other counties, the same percentage that all other county workers get. Yes,
And
sir.
I will jump right on your back and say that I've got the highest regards for Mr. Oliver. He does a tremendous job. He's in the office at 6 and doesn't leave till 8. Whether you call him at 9 or doesn't matter, he always answers the phone. He's done a tremendous job. He has held a steady ship here, and so I agree 100%.
Commissioners? Anybody else want to jump in? Comments?
I will agree. I'll support that.
Okay. Do we have any that disagrees?
I half agree.
Half agree. Well, this is the time to...
So my feedback to Mr. Oliver is very similar to yours, in that he has saved us a lot of money. He's been exceptional in so many ways. I just am seriously concerned that we don't have a succession plan. We don't have an assistant county administrator, and he is, quite frankly, overworked. And I really want to see some changes happen this year. So I agree, but I also have some concerns that I'd very much like to be addressed.
And for what it's worth, I think you remember me saying at the retreat that I've asked Randy to start looking into succession planning, whether he's here for 3 months or 30 years more, but we need to have a plan, what it would be and how it would be done, and he's going to do that. So we'll be, whatever that looks like, he'll be bringing that back to us. So, but as far as my recommendation, you're on board with that?
Yes, I do think that there is some opportunity here that's being missed, that we are not looking at the bigger picture. And you know me, 10, 20, 30 years out, you can work in the business or you can work on the business. And to my point, or to my concern, I believe we are working too much in the business and not on the business of the county, meaning looking farther down. I have seen huge efforts by county staff and by this commission on the workshops, and I am very, very much encouraged. So don't take this as negative. Just I'm bringing forward my position on a gentle, keep going in the direction we're going, and a bit of a, I'm just wanted to air the concerns.
Sure, and I appreciate that, and it's, people should know, I can't imagine having the job that Randy, or Mr. Oliver has. because he's got to deal with 5 people of very strong personalities, and, you know, and he has to follow the direction of the majority. I ran into this a lot in the past in the city, was that, you know, I was on the losing end of votes a lot. It was very frustrating for me. I'd go in and talk to the city manager and be like, sorry, got to do what the majority wants. And but again, that's the job of the administrator is to carry forward. But again, I think we've come a long way in establishing the direction that you're talking about. So, Mr. Slabaugh, any comments?
Yes, this is my first evaluation of Mr. Oliver. We didn't have the opportunity, so my evaluation, I went by what the agenda item said. So it was discussion and direction of evaluation for county administrator, section 6 of the contract. So you're telling me now that for the last 7 years, you put a letter in his file, all the accolades that he does, fantastic, not disagreeing with that. But I went through it in a different way. I've hired and fired many employees over the last 30 years, and I think that what is said about Randy is great, but I ran to serve the community, and we have an active part to provide what our goals and, you know, what our objectives are. And, you know, he's gotten us through a financial cliff. You guys have said that many times. I do not disagree. I am a numbers person. I really appreciate that. But in my one-on-one evaluation, I went through some things with Mr. Oliver, and we spent a lot of time, and it was after hours, and I appreciated his time. And I just don't know what our succession plan is, and we're losing another director, and I just really am actually a little nervous about where we're going and with the Parkway opening up. So I just wanted to talk about the contract in Section 6, and, you know, I think we're doing a disservice by not giving Mr. Oliver a written, you know, final, other than the letter. I guess you're considering the letter, the what we expect of him as far as goals and objectives. And we missed the date, January 6th. I know we've been busy, but I just feel like, you know, his contract says certain things, and it just doesn't look like we're following what the language of the contract. So that concerns me. I also think that, you know, there's no dirty laundry to air, so I'm not going to be doing that. But I do think that we are heading in a different direction, and we have to figure that out. And we need an administrator who, you can disagree with me, you have disagreed with me, but I believe that we need an administrator that's going to meet with the citizen groups and to find solutions to our problems our neighbors are facing. We need to have an administrator that's going to foster a collaboration, working relationships with myself and fellow commissioners. You know, we have a very talented and capable staff, and I appreciate them. I appreciate what's happening, but, you know, our staff is I'm getting no's, so I feel like our staff's getting no's, and I just think that it's time that we find out how long Mr. Oliver wants to be in this position and figure out, you know, you were on the board last time that directed. You were very adamant about you wanted an assistant county administrator, and that still hasn't been done. And you know, I've gone around about with that privately with Mr. Oliver, and I just have some concerns, and I think that if we have to figure this out and embrace our vision and work with us instead of against us. And
Whoa.
I
You're
still
saying our
have
administrator
I
works?
have the floor.
Oh, yeah, be careful what you say.
I
Go ahead.
said I feel that, you know, I want an administrator that works for us and not against us. I didn't say that Mr. Oliver did that. But I do know that when, you know, you just look at the consensus of 3, you are dismissing 2. And that this is my feelings, this is what I think, and I think that we should look at the contract and you know, evaluate the language of the Section 6, otherwise why do we have it? So, you will go ahead, and I recede the floor to you.
Thank you. Did you have something you
Yeah, I
want to say?
know. Okay. First and foremost, Mr. Oliver has been looking for an assistant administrator, okay? If you can't get good quality candidates, why hire them? Okay? We've already been down that road. Okay, I mean, so I guess what I'm getting at is, I mean, I get a feeling that maybe you want to make a motion to find another administrator. I mean, I don't understand, where you're headed here. But I don't think he works against us at all. I think that he's very well communicated with me for all 7 years. And when you start looking at, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there. When you start looking at directors and employees, what they want is a steady ship. And when they see that ship starting to rock, you bet they're going to get out of here and go somewhere else and make more money. So, it's up to this board right here to keep the steady ship. And I believe that when you look at the caliber of directors that we have sitting in these positions today, and employees, they're there for a reason, because he built it and he got them here. We had some that we thought were great until they left, and the new ones come on, and we found out that we just elevated our directors. So I think he has done a tremendous job. But I don't know where you're headed here. I mean, do you want a new administrator? Is that what we're saying?
I want to know what our succession plan is, and I started off that in the agenda item, it says that according to Section 6 of the contract. Well, there are several things in that, and we don't follow them, so...
Will you please tell us what we're not? That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
You got to tell us. I mean, you're saying Section 6. Please go into that and tell us what we're not doing right.
Okay, so I did already say that. I already laid them out there. That if that's the way we want to go, and we've gone the 7 years that way, then fine, continue it. But am I not here as a commissioner to give my thoughts of, okay, this is what I can't talk to you all, and I thought, oh, we're supposed to look through the contract. So I read the contract. And it doesn't look like we missed the January 6th date. The contract evaluation language, it's been developed for the purpose of measuring your performance based on meeting goals and objectives set by the board. Without this measuring tool, it's difficult to determine your effectiveness as an administrator or evaluating your work. This is all stuff that's there, but I guess the letter is what you guys do as that's the written performance of him. So fine, I understand that.
Well, let's hope not have to go here, but we will. This is what bothers me. First of all, to use language that says you want an administrator that works for you, not against you, but say, oh, I didn't refer to him. How many administrators do we have? How many are we talking about? The other thing is, you keep bringing up January 6th. It's my fault. Randy never asked, I want more money, I want this, I want that. Randy never asked for anything. He's very low-key, and was brought to my attention that we usually do it in January. I wasn't aware that we had a specific date that we did it. The other thing is that I don't think you've made it any secret that you would like to see Mr. Oliver go down the road. As a matter of fact, I just got reports this weekend that you're out talking to people in the community telling them you were going to fire him today.
Oh,
okay?
I never said I was firing him.
I have the floor.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So how do you think that makes staff feel? Do you think that when word like that gets out in the community, even us having this discussion, this should have been a yes, we support him, or no, we don't. That's it. If you don't have confidence in your administrator, then you don't. And it should be I support him or I don't. Is he perfect? No, he's not. Does he check every box of every commissioner's, I'd love to have somebody did this? No, he doesn't. But he does what we ask him to do, and he does it at the highest possible professional level. That's what my experience has been with him. So I have hired a lot of city managers. I have hired a lot of executive-type people. When I was brought onto this board, the first people we had to hire was a new administrator here, a new administrator at the TBRPC, and a new administrator at Tabarta. So we've been down this road over and over again, and so I don't think that he has spent all this time, and what's very upsetting to me is that he spent all this time building what he tells me is the best staff he's ever had, and I think the best the county has ever had, and now we start talking like this and saying, well, maybe we support him, maybe we don't, we'd like to know how long he's going to be with us. That is not an encouraging thing to say. I would say, I hope he's with us the rest of his career. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's the difference with this. So, we can continue this on, But what this is supposed to, the way it's supposed to be, is that either you support him or you don't. And all I ask is for a letter saying you support him. Now, if you want to say, I support him except he doesn't go out and drink enough with the business people in the community, you can put that in his letter if you want, if you think that's part of his job. I don't. You said his job is to set policy and tell the citizens our vision. It's not. That's our job. You want him to do a county commissioner's job. Our job is to say, Mr. Oliver, this is our vision, this is what we want to have happen, carry it out. That's what his job is. His job is not to come up with ideas to tell us what to do, and we go, oh, yeah, do that, Randy, that's a good idea. That's not what our job is. So I'm just very frustrated when people don't do their homework, don't do their research, and listen to all these voices on the outside, and all it does is disrupt the machine that has been built here to run Citrus County so smoothly. And again, this is my last evaluation of Mr. Oliver, so whatever it's worth, and he'll decide, but I just find the fact that you couldn't say, I support him, he's got some issues I talked to him about, or I absolutely don't support him, I want him fired. And I don't think there's, this thing going down the road and trying to be everything to everybody is going to fly, especially when you're dealing with one of the two people it's the only two people that you pay for and hire right there. So anyway, I've said more about this than I should. Next year, you guys can have whatever forms or whatever you want to do, but traditionally, it's left up to the chairman. This is the way that we did it in the beginning. Everybody liked it, because if you had an axe to grind with Randy, I know we've all done it. You go in the room, you close the doors, everybody hollers at each other, and you all leave, and everybody's on the same page, and we go from there. That's the way it should be done. So, yes, ma'am.
To throw a little oil on the water, try to calm everything down a little bit. You keep saying, policy is always what we do, and we want to keep things as unemotional as possible. In my career, I have never once evaluated an employee without a form to go by. And we don't have such form. And having such form should be a best practice out there in the world somewhere for this level of employee, this type of employee, which makes us do objective criteria. We make a subjective decision on each of those, but they are somewhat objective criteria. At least they're the same from year to year to year, from decade to decade, and therefore over that time for successive administrators over the history of a county. Can you explain why we don't have such a form to fill out?
Sure, and I'll give you my opinion of it, and that is all these types of evaluations are subjective. They're not objective. Because I'm sure you've heard of the halo concept, right? You like somebody, you give them all high marks. You don't like somebody, you give them all low marks. So if you take scorecards and you evaluate, especially somebody you're dealing with 5, okay, it doesn't take, if you're dealing with the mean or the average, it doesn't take many low scores to drop a very good candidate low because somebody just had an argument with them. Okay, so that's why I think it's based on overall job performance. What do you expect of this position? I expect this, he did it, okay? Or he didn't do this and I expect this. Or he told me, or told us, and that's the other thing, it's an us. He told us he was going to do this and he did or he didn't. That's why. If I just went through this with another evaluation, with another executive director, 11 forms were sent out, 7 were sent back. Okay? And I looked at it, and we're going around the table talking like this, and we're hearing, well, I gave him my highest rating, I gave him my highest rating, and he got like a 3.2 when he could have got a 5. Well, it's because some of the people had some issues, and they just ranked them low, but the other fact was 3 of the people couldn't be bothered to turn in the forms. Okay? So the problem with that kind of thing is you go into, and here's the other thing, you put that down and you say, okay, I gave him a 4.2, and last year you gave him a 4.1. What was the difference between the 2 and the 1, and how are you objectively going to measure that kind of? And that really comes down to it. It comes down to being very, very subjective, where you have to say, in my feeling, and that's why we have different people. So I agree with what you're saying. I apologize for becoming more emotional, but I believe me that this man has been through more this year Okay? I am just furious about what has been thrown at him this year in the position that he was in and what he was going through in his life. And that's why I'm a little emotional about it. I just think that, anyway, that's it.
I still think regardless, what our situation is right now is that it is very subjective, and having a list can be more objective because it is multiple criteria, and you can put KPIs in there which are objective.
Well, I would
And
just
that's
say,
all I'll say.
and I would say to that, you're absolutely, if that's your vision and, or what you want to do, and you get the majority of the commissioners next year to do it, then that's the way you can do the review next year. Yes, ma'am.
I just think it's interesting that I'm trying to do an evaluation and do it properly the way I read everything that I'm supposed to do it. And then I'm attacked and had slanderous gossip. I have never said that I was going to fire you. And I defy somebody to come and say that, because I heard that's what was going to happen today, and I'm like, who said that? So I feel like this has been turned to my evaluation, and I was just trying to find out where we're going, what our goals and objectives are, and then, yes, you know what, there are times that I do feel he works against me. But I talked to him about that privately, and never once in my evaluation and talking with him in our meeting did I say I was going to fire him. So I don't know how it became about me. I just was trying to do the proper way that I saw from the contract, and it leaves me very upset that I would get that animosity towards me. So guess what? I guess what I'm hearing is you would just like me to be quiet and go along with everything. So sorry.
No, and I'll just respond, and then Commissioner Carnahan, you get the last word on this, unless Commissioner Kennard wants to, because he's been very quiet.
I'll jump in anytime.
But all I'm saying is, I don't want anybody just to go along. I just would like to say, it shouldn't be about the forms. It shouldn't be, well, I'm not happy because we didn't have the right form. It should be, I would like to see this next time. I'm going to get the rest of the board to go along with me. This is what I'd like to do. I think it should be done that way. That's a reasonable argument. Going back to that is not it. So, yes, sir.
All I'll say is this, I can respect each and everybody's opinion on how you ought to evaluate, okay? We don't live in a corporate world here, okay? And I'm just so tired of hearing this corporate world deal. We don't live in corporate, okay? This is not corporate. This is Citrus County. And what we have done now is made another circus up here of an evaluation. If you have a problem, and again, I respect everybody's position. If you want to evaluate and have the conversations, you have those behind closed doors, and you have them with Mr. Oliver. But again, it's just my opinion. And when it comes to hiring and firing, I built a business from the ground up, okay, that was extremely successful. Sold it, did well, but I don't sit there and throw that out here every day or every time we're sitting up there and how great this was or that was. I was elected to do a job as a commissioner. We have 2 employees that work for us. That's it. Directors don't work for us or anybody, okay? And Doug, Doug's with us, and Doug does a great job, keeps us right on task and gets everything done for us. And I also, so anyway, Randy, you have my highest regards. You know that when we brought you here, I think we interviewed, 4 or 5? And when Mr. Oliver walked in the door, I said, I've already talked to them. You're the guy I want from the resume that was in front of me. So now we got to get us a contract worked out. Again, Citrus County, and I'll tell you another really interesting. Why we have a staff today that are so good is because we had a steady ship. If you look at Citrus County before then, administrator would come in a year, he'd be gone. Or 6 months, they'd be gone. A year and a half, they'd be gone. Well, there's nobody that's going to come work in a county that's happening. So we've had an administrator now here for a little over 7 years, and it's a good steady ship, and I think you've done a tremendous job here as the administrator. So. And I agree with the evaluations on how they go. We don't live in a corporate world, and so anyway.
Commissioner Kennard, anything you'd like to add?
I've got nothing.
That's why I let you go last, because you have so many words to put there. What do they say? And I reflect this against me, a fool is known by his many words. So there you go. So, Madam Attorney, can you see to it that a letter is drafted from Mr. Oliver's file reflecting what we discussed today, and I will sign it?
Reflecting the highest regard.
That's my vote.
That's what we heard. I heard 3.5 and 3/4, and a 1 didn't like the form, so.
2 didn't like the form.
2 didn't like the form. Let me just put it this way.
Yes, I'll be.
Does anybody object to that letter being signed by me and put in Randy's file? I hear no objection, so.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
All right, so next up is you. Do you have anything for us?
No, sir.
Okay. We have our final section of open to the public. While the open to the public is coming up, I'm going to announce our upcoming meetings. We have a regular meeting February 8th at 1 p.m., a regular meeting February 22nd at 1 p.m. We have multiple workshops and special meetings and gatherings plugged in between now. The next one I know of will be January 28th, which is our Leadership Summit. So I would encourage the public to look at the county's website for any other dates, and those are upcoming meetings. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Janet Barrett, Citrus Springs Civic Association.
Mic down a little bit.
This way people can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
I would have loved it if Commissioner Davis would either turn her microphone on or bring it down so we could hear her, because you can't hear you.
Oh, I'm
Number
sorry.
1, okay? Number 2, we talked about boat ramps and fees and all this good stuff. And we also talked about the city of Crystal River. And I was told early on, there'll be money coming in for these things to be done, because that's what the fees were going to be collected for. That's putting the cart before the horse. Number 1, we haven't collected the fees. And the city was asking us to possibly spend our fees before we get them. Okay, so we haven't collected any money, or we've collected very little, I should say. Allowing the businesses to go and come at our boat ramps without charging them a fee as a commercial business. They don't sell those boats for $1 profit. They sell them for thousands of dollars profit. So when they say, well, it's costing me $10 to take this boat, or $10, how much do they pay per gallon just to run that boat if they're testing it? So for the county to be charging, and I would have charged $365 for a fee for a license for a commercial, and $1,095 for out of county, because it's worth $1 a day to them to have a license to take and go back and forth to the boat ramps. But you gentlemen and ladies didn't want to do that. That's fine. We spent a lot of time talking about that. It was nice that we did do these things. And yeah, the $10, I agreed, believe it or not, I agree with Mr. Kitchen. It was the cost of doing business for the business. And it is a cost of doing business. Just like if you advertise, it's your cost of doing business. If you want to sell a boat or fix a boat, you're not charging them 50 cents to fix their boat. I am sure there is not a single person that takes a boat to get fixed that pays less than at least $100. So the thing is, they're not losing any money, and they're telling you, oh, well, it's $10, $10, $10. Well, I'm sorry about that. Citrus Springs, I made a statement about us paying. Our MSBU, at least 75% of our MSBU money goes to residential road resurfacing and repaving. That's not counting the other taxes that the Citrus Springs Civic Association residents pay. So we pay double. So when I say we're going to pay for the roads no matter what, we're going to pay. And our roads, if you ever come up there, Mr. Kitchen, or any of you, I'll take you around to some really nice roads. And I hope you're used to bounce, bounce, bounce. Or if you want to get your front end realigned the day after you come visit Citrus Springs, you're going to need it. Because we have roads that are extremely in disarray and they need repair badly. But I know that eventually things will change. As for Mr. Oliver, I agree and disagree. Okay? He had an assistant. He initially didn't have an assistant because he didn't want one. He got going into his job, and I can understand that. As president for the Civic Association, I am in the process of training somebody because this is my last year. Okay? I have a goal. He needs to, as he's been here this is his 7th year, or actually the beginning of his 8th year, he needs to have a goal. How long is he staying? If so, he needs to be training somebody. So if he takes a vacation or he takes a sick day or whatever, we had problems before. We need to know there is somebody in the county that he trusts.
There is.
And he has to trust them. But he has to go out and do that, and he was asked to do that. Okay, so I agree and I disagree. I do like, he does a wonderful job for Citrus Springs. If I call, I get my answers. I may not get them immediately, but within, say, 24 to 48 hours, I have everything I need for what I'm asking. Okay, and most people that contact him, but there has to be somebody there that he trusts to do the same thing he does. And that's what his goal should be for this year, of finding somebody, whether the 5 of you find the person and say, Randy, try this person. If they don't work, try another one.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment?
Commissioners, Josh Wooten, President and CEO of the Chamber. A couple of items. One is, just for a little levity here, Randy, I was just evaluated by my board, and they gave me a 4.5, and I looked at them and I said, is that out of 10? And they said, no, that's 5. I said, so I had a tough day that day. But they did use a form, and I understand what the 2 ladies are asking for, and I don't think it's unreasonable because it helps me, know what the board's thinking and the goals that I have to reach. And, somebody mentioned I never wear a tie, and I get that kind of feedback. So, but anyway, I disagree with my friend Janet. Y'all did the right thing on the businesses because we're getting fees and taxes and fuel prices and insurance and everything else come from every direction. We can't keep going to businesses to solve our fiscal problems. So that's good. But here's an idea that y'all may like. Janice Warren came up with the technology when I was still selling cars and boats where we could actually do the tag work on premises. So I would make those dealers be able to sell the passes. Just register to the people. When the boat goes out the door, I just bought a new boat or a used boat, send them out the door with the pass. They get $2. Y'all get the rest of it. I think the technology exists because they can register it online right there at the dealership. And maybe they can sell passes to anybody that wants to pass by showing their local, and that'll solve the problem with the $10 per fee. And then the other thing is, I'm no state trooper, so I don't know all the traffic laws, but as being a car and boat dealer for many years, I believe that dealer plate or a transporter plate can be transfixed onto the customer's trailer as well. So that issue goes away that way. So as Commissioner Kennard said, you were kind of getting in the weeds, so I think you ended up in the right place.
Thank you very much, sir. Good comments. And I guess, Madam Clerk, all these folks have already filled out green cards, so you know they are. So.
Yeah, John Labriola, Inverness again. Just want, not to belabor the point, but what I heard was that the issue of the Library Advisory Board appointments is going to come up at the next meeting. Does that mean that the actual appointments will be made at that meeting, or it will be advertised? Because what I saw for the TDC is it was at least 2 or 3 meetings ago that this was advertised on the agenda. I saw it on the agenda at least 2 or 3 meetings ago. And so, and your vote was held today. So on the Library Advisory Board, I'm really curious to know: is it going to be voted on at that meeting and have no announcement about the positions being available, or is it going to be just announced at that meeting and give the same whatever month or month and a half for people to apply and then be voted on at the meeting? Because this is an issue that, obviously still remains very much at the forefront of people's consciences on this particular issue with the library displays. And a lot of people have expressed an interest now in getting on that board, especially given the ideological bent, which is what we've seen is a very left-wing bent on that board. And it was finally the vote came down on the side of, well, the argument was that 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 board, if we're not pleased with the direction that they're going, and they're the ones pushing these LGBT displays, then we can move appointments. But on the website itself, it says January 31st is the expiration date for these board members. So how is it that it's not going to be up on the agenda, on your agenda, until February? Is that period going to be extended so that people that had the time, month and a half to apply for the TDC, is that opportunity going to be given to people that have an interest in joining the Library Advisory Board? I would like to hear that before I leave today from, I don't know, the administrator or the attorney, to know if this is just going to be like a done deal kind of thing, or if people are actually going to have the opportunity to go ahead and apply for that board, and not keep it like closed in with this particular group that we have now that has been, my understanding is they've been on there for quite a long time, and no advertisement has been made of those positions when they expire, and they're just automatically renewed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else who wishes to address the board? Yes, sir. Good to see you today. Can I interrupt just 1 second? Before Mr. Wooten leaves, I don't want him to miss this. Brilliant idea. Thank you for bringing it forward. That was me that said that, so just so you know. Okay. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Larry Smith, Citrus Spring. We've been coming to these meetings here for over 16 years. Pretty regular until the fire. And then, I know there's 2 of you that know that. Randy's been the best one that I have seen and been around in 16 years and plus. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. I don't think you missed a meeting in 16 years. Could you fill for? Okay, is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Yes, sir.
Walked out and missed his compliment.
You'll make me fill out a form, but he was absolutely correct. The dealer tag.
Can you give us your name for the?
Oh, Ty Cloud, Homosexuality. He was, Josh was absolutely right. You can take a dealer tag and put it on anything you want to. I know I just shook my head, but it's on the record now.
Thank you very much. And the record is amazing today. He's got compliments from 2 people that maybe he went. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? Anyone else? Okay, a couple of comments, and then the board can comment any way they'd like. Randy, Denise, you heard the question about the Library Advisory Board being advertised. Can you tell us?
That was what I went out to double check. That was, I made a call. It was advertised. It was advertised a couple of weeks ago, and the appointments are coming forward now at the next meeting.
So the cutoff for applications are over with?
Yes.
Okay, so if people said they never saw those applications, there's a place where they can go and verify that it was advertised?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so to answer that question, they say it was advertised, there's proof of the advertisement, and that the application should be in, and the appointments will take place at the next meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes, and I believe Mr. Labriola is one of those that applied.
Okay, so it sounds like you're in it, and it'll be appointed next time. Okay, what's that? Okay. Okay, not from the audience, please, thank you. Okay, also, I gave Josh his proper credit for the tugboat ideas, and I want to say, Mr. Smith, ever since I've been here, they've, same spot in the audience every time, and I think it was only due to some catastrophic emergency I looked at and you weren't here, and I thought, they know something I don't, so I better be careful. So, but anyway, we thank you so much for being here. Commissioners, any other comments on anything you heard tonight from the?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how it happened, but somehow my evaluation turned into a negative thing, and I am disappointed that gossip that I never said was brought up on this dais, and I'm disappointed.
Okay. Any comments from anybody that responds to citizen input?
No, sir.
No, sir. And Commissioner Conner?
No, I'm good.
Okay, well, I've announced the
Randy
next.
has something.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Randy?
can I mention one thing? I think we need to probably explain how to do it, but the boat dealer can currently do that. They just have to give them access to the internet and the computer, and a person can get their pass right there. So, I mean, it's easily it's all done electronically anyway.
Great. You had something? We have by the way, Board, we have a presentation. My understanding with Lakuchi Electric is here. So before everybody runs off, I'm sure they'd like to come up, do their presentation, receive our thanks, and maybe have a picture taken if the Board has time to do that. Okay? And that'll be the last of our business today, once we do this.
Oh, it's in the agenda. Commissioners, this is this is the proclamations under C2.
Right.
Gary Steele, General Manager of the Crystal River, and Billy Brown, Executive Vice President, General Manager, Crystal River, will present the Board of County Commissioners a check from the Withlacoochee River Electric Company. Thank you, gentlemen.
I apologize for being so late. Got our times mixed up, but glad to catch you folks, and thank you so much. And I'm here with my Director of Member Relations, Mr. David Lambert, to present this check to you. And this is our capital credits check. And in the history of the co-op, we have refunded $21 million to our patrons. If you're a member of the co-op, you're eligible for capital credits, and every year our board decides how much we're going to give back. And like I said, this year was $21 million. In the history of the co-op, we've done almost $400 million. Yeah, almost $400 million.
Wow.
So very proud to present this to the county.
Would you like the Board to come down, do a picture with you down there?
If you wouldn't mind.
Okay, sure.
And I promise you, Randy has the real check.
I told him we got that a couple weeks ago.
How are y'all today?
I didn't give you a chance to talk. I'll give it to you. You need to deal with Melissa Walker. Right behind you. Little block of wood.
This best guys are lined up. All right, let's see, free money. Power. Let's take a few. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See y'all again. Good to see you. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you, Randy.
Okay, real quickly, we have a couple little wrap-up things here. First of all, we got so wrapped up, I forgot to give Mr. Oliver a chance to respond. Didn't know if he wanted to say anything.
I'd just like to thank you and the citizens of Citrus County for giving me the opportunity to serve you.
It's a terrible process. Not too many people have to be evaluated in front of a TV audience and out in front. Also, I want to make sure there's some confusion about the appointee of whether it was Melissa Walker or
The agenda item said Melissa Wheeler and Commissioner Kennard. I went quickly and looked at the applications. It is indeed Melissa Walker was the application from the Key Training Center. So I don't know if we need to amend that in the record that we are voting on.
Do we have that? I mean, because remember I questioned, you
Yes.
said Melissa Walker, and I said Walker or Wheeler, and
And
so.
it said Wheeler twice, Barbara Wheeler and Melissa Wheeler in the agenda item, so.
So what do we need to do?
I believe the clerk has it correctly. And I also know, did you guys vote on Mr. Menke and Dr. Desai?
Yes, they
Yes.
did.
Yeah, we saved that until the second time.
They did two different motions for I-2. They did the one, and then they did the second one for the other two.
Okay. And we're good on Melissa Walker, so everybody knows it was Melissa Walker that we voted on.
Transfer
Okay,
there.
good with that? Commissioner?
Yes.
Good with that?
Yes.
Good? Okay. Okay, so, good meeting, everybody, and we're adjourned.